G'day everyone, I am the man called Kim Musabi, the man with the plan from Land Down Under. This is another live Drawstream. I mean, if you guys are here, you probably know what it's all about. I see a lot of familiar faces, a lot of familiar names from last time. Thanks for stopping by. We've got 20 cards down, only 180 to go. And if you guys have got any suggestions for characters I could draw, feel free to leave them in the chat and I'll certainly take them under consideration. I don't even have a character in mind right now. Or I'll just have a little bit of a thing come up with something right now. Got some chill hop happening in the background. I said I'd give that a go. Copyright free chill hop, so don't sue me, bro. If it's obnoxious or it's interfering with your hearing from me, let me know and I'll get rid of it. If it's obnoxious or it's interfering with your hearing from me. Rockozo, Chief Baron. Yeah, I could do that. I'd need to grab a picture of him though, just to. I mean, I vaguely know he's got the fin on his head, but you know, you want to make sure that you're being fairly accurate. And if I get upset about the wrong hair color on a character when they get cast in a comic book movie, it certainly makes sense that I'd want to try and draw a character as close as possible to the real thing. Alrighty, so I've got a picture of Kozor here. I assume Chief Baron's the main character of Kozor, the guy with the fin on his head, the guy that looks like a straight out of 80s Games Workshop. I love the aesthetic. I'll set up here so I've got all the windows happening. I need I need multiple monitors. I need to get some more monitors. How's that chill hop going for you guys? Can you hear that? Is that all right? Do you hate it? How much do you hate it is really the question I should be asking. Destroy a duck. I don't know who that is. No, not just woke up, just taking it easy. I suppose I should be on the. There we go. Okay, this is. Let's get that. You know what's going to happen? There you go. One of the kids woke up. Of course they did. Yes, you have grown. It was his birthday recently, and he just worked out that he's 5.
I'm getting bigger.
You are getting bigger. What a great start. He's adorable. All right, let's have a look at Chief Baron. King Baron. Chief Baron. Okay, he wants to play Minecraft. I'm going to set that up, then I'm going to come back. I knew this would happen. I waited, and then... Shh, go sit down. Unbelievable. Dad life. Obviously, I'm back. You guys ever feel like, I don't know if it's paranoia. I feel like I'm being sabotaged every time I want to do something. Like I intentionally held off on this live stream, thinking, kids will wake up soon. I'll get them situated, get them some food, get them sorted, get them doing something so that they're not going to interrupt while I try and talk to you guys and get these cards done. And the minute I start, one of them happens to wake up, of course. And I feel like every time I try to do something, the universe is conspiring to get in my way. I feel like I've got to make hay while the sun shines, because I don't know how much longer the sun will continue shining. There's a lot of people making bad choices out there, and everyone's getting tarred with the same brush. So, you want to get out there and you want to build a little bit of an audience, and you want to prove yourself. You want to get your product out as soon as possible. I would love for Company Men to have been delivered as all 180 pages, the complete story. I mean, I'm sending people out the first act of a movie. It's a bit surreal. It's like, I don't know. It's like, imagine if The Matrix come out in 3 parts, and just as Neo wakes up in the real world and you realize it's all true, they're like, and that's the end of this episode. You can enjoy waiting a year for the next one. I don't like this format, but this is the format that we've got. And so I'm trying to get this done. I'm trying to, as much as possible, as soon as possible, and it just feels like everything's getting in my way. Everything's conspiring to stop me from reaching my best potential. And, it's not just that it happens once, it happens all the time. I'm just not really sure what I'm supposed to learn from it. If I was the universe, everything happens for a reason type guy, I'd almost think I was being told not to do this stuff. Because just it's, not, here it comes. He's going to come and tell me he can't do something on the game. What? I don't. Boy, if it's too complex for you, don't play the game. Unbelievable. Alright, so I'll say g'day to some people in the chat. G'day, Crazy Man. Thanks for stopping by, mate. You hear quite a bit. Hey, glad to see familiar faces. Glad to see some of the same people stopping by. To think that, you've got your time, and your time is your time, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to give up some of that time, because, as soon as you're born, you start dying. I'm going to give up some of that time and watch this Australian bloke talk shit and draw half decent sketch cards. Like the fact that you give me that time, that's pretty incredible, because there's so many other things vying for your attention. Crazy Mad's right now. It's like there is so many things. Screw this guy. I'm going to go watch Suicide Squad. I don't want to sit around looking at this guy's drawings. And I think that's why it means so much to me when you guys bother to turn up. I don't know. Skipping Hockey, you got a show going on in a minute. Some people might pop over there for a bit. They might come back. They might not. Yeah, well, I'm not one of those sort of people, Dario, that's like, the universe is telling me not to do it, so I won't. That's not a part of my deep-seated personal convictions and beliefs. I was just sort of saying, if I was that sort of person, you could understand how somebody would think, the universe is telling me not to do this sort of thing. Chief Baron's got some cool details. Those chains are going to do me in, though. Barton Brothers, what were you thinking? Putting chains on your character. What are you, Todd McFarlane? Oh, and look at the bloody the sewing detail, the tailoring detail down the side here. These out of control. I'm just going to make that all black. Yeah, well, I think that's sort of the part of the thing, Dario. I'm not out of clicks. I certainly have, I'm part of several prominent whisper networks. I say that facetiously. But I do feel like I miss out because I'm not able to. Well, that's cool, Crazy Matt. I'm glad that helps. I'm glad that contributes in some way positively. And this is one of the few sort of social interactions I get as well. So I really look forward to these, and I really appreciate this time with you guys. Being a stay-at-home dad, you don't always have a lot of time to yourself. You don't always have a lot of time to. I don't really have any real life. I don't have any real life friends. Not because I'm misanthropic or hard to get along with. I'm not much different in real life than I'm in online here. I don't block anyone, Dario. Except for big companies that are trying to sell me stuff. It's like, oh, here's your recommended posts for the day, and it's some BuzzFeed type 12 celebrities who insta block every time. My block list's got to be 500 companies long. But if anybody's just a D-bag or posting horny or lewd on my timeline, they'll get a mute. Anybody I see posting some weird dudes, like weird furry anime type stuff. It's one I saw yesterday. Some dude that I've obviously followed back retweeted, I think it was a werewolf, and the werewolf had this huge erection in the middle of the page, like somebody's drawn and color, like he's better, whoever was better artist than me, like he could draw, color, digital, all that. Looked fantastic. This is an 8-foot werewolf with this foot-long erection sitting in the middle of the screen. Like, what the why? I've said before, like, you guys would know what makes my dick hard. I keep that personal. You don't need to know about that. That's the last thing you need to know about me. And it's nothing unusual or bizarre. I'm pretty vanilla as far as things go. But even still, that's not something to talk about. So I'm like, well, why is this guy? Obviously, he's not building a brand. Or if he's building a brand, his brand is werewolf erections. I don't know. And so I muted that guy, and I muted the person who did the artwork. So the guy that retweeted it got muted, and the guy who did the artwork got muted. But I didn't want to block them because I don't know. Isn't big tenet of CG is not to block people. If I don't like you, I don't have to listen to you. I could just mute you. I don't have to block you, and then you're blocked. Especially if they've followed me, I followed them back, all that sort of thing. Seems counterproductive. The Lone Rangers, maybe. Good to see my boy Firewatcher here. If you're an artist and you want to draw a story and you don't have that in you, like you're not a writer and you want to collaborate with someone, I'd be hitting up my boy Firewatcher, because I said before, he is a prodigy, a writing prodigy, and he's got a half a dozen chemotherapy. He's got a half a dozen properties that are, like I said, if I could sling this guy a couple of G's to get some artwork made and get them up on Indiegogo or whatever, like he'd make money. He'd hit funding. He'd make money. They're exactly the sort of thing people want to see. But I'm not in that position right now. One day I'd love to be a kingmaker and see these projects and say, hey, that looks good. That's worth money. I will put this much money in because I know it'll make back that much money. That's cool, Dario. I've got to stay at home with the kids, though, man. Like, I appreciate the offer, and there might be a day where I take you up on that. I haven't talked about it too much, but I have mentioned that I got cancelled out of my old career. I got SJW'd out of my old career, and I can't talk about it because of legal stuff, but essentially I can't go back to my old career of 15 years that I've worked in the field. So if this doesn't work, if my writing and my novels and my comics don't work out, I'm never going to stop doing them, but if they don't ever make a living wage, once the kids are a bit older, I guess there's a day where I will have to decide, what am I going to do? I suppose I just keep making this stuff. And I'm just speaking the truth. Firewatch, just speaking the truth, brother. I've read all the, I've read a half a dozen scripts from you, and every single one of them lands. You just got this innate sense of dialogue, conceptualization, the worlds you create. I think some of the best work I've done is the work that we've done collaboratively. If we can ever get some of that stuff, made, I'd be really proud to have that work out there with our names on it. I suppose I'd just go full time with this sort of thing and try and make it a real career. I mean, if you keep it's evergreen content, like Company Man, I'll always be able to sell copies of Company Man. It's made. It's done. Like I can sell that from now till the end of my career, and my life. I've got novels written. Once I get some cover art made for them. Oh, Jason Black, if you're still around, buddy, I might hit you up for some. Tell you more than that. Oh no, I can't. I can't tell you more than that. What sucks? My picture or the fact that I got cancelled? I'm going to assume it's the fact that I got cancelled. Borrow from 4OK to invest in the bank. That's a good point. That's a good point. And that's investing in your future, Dara. You're like, I believe in my product so much. I'm going to dip. I think your 401k is like what we call superannuation, isn't it? So, you're backing yourself. I respect that. And that's what my wife's doing. She's backing me. She's saying, yeah, I believe. You don't believe in you, believe in me who believes in you. Weber Sabi returns. And she's backed the book. So, oh man, this chain. I'm not looking forward to this chain. I'm procrastinating on this chain. Retirement fund. So, and is that the same as superannuation? That's what we call it over here. The company that employs you has to pay money into a fund for you. Some of you, so part of your wage or your agreement or your award includes. All right, Jason. The rough picture is, the very simplified version is that there's somebody there who is in a position of power that didn't like me personally, professionally, ethically. Didn't like what I stood for, what I believed in, my ideas and ideals, my belief systems, and they conspired to have me blacklisted. And I worked for them for 18 months in this industry. It's an industry you sort of move around in a lot. If you want, you can. And they spent 18 months compiling. And the funny thing is, they headhunted me. They found me. They got me and they said, hey, we've got this situation. You got the skills. Can you come over and sort this out so that it's functioning again? And that's exactly what I did, to the acclaim of people involved. I said, this is the smoothest it's run in a long, long time. The clients are happy. We're getting absolutely no complaints. Everyone's on board. Everyone wants you to continue in this role. And then I find out that she's been compiling this hit piece on me for the last 18 months. Brings me into a meeting, ambushes me with the two other supervisors, one of whom, I didn't think they were both on my side, but I thought one of them said, we want you to do these things. So everything they wanted me to do, I did. Everything that was part of the job description, everything. I said, hey, we need these things covered. I covered them. Every single one I could point to them. I pointed to the paperwork, said, here you go. I did every single thing you asked. And I even said in the meeting, is there anything that this woman asked for that I haven't done? No. So what's this meeting about? What are we here for? And then they used one or two bits of miscommunication. You have a dozen pieces of correspondence every day between a network and a team of people. Occasionally there's going to be some mix-ups in can I see that still? Yep. There's going to be some mix-ups in time frames and that sort of thing. So I thought the time frame was now, but it was in 2 weeks' time. I'm like, well, okay. I'll have it ready in 2 weeks' time. Don't worry about it. Like, that's better, actually, because that's further along, right? Like, if anything, I'm too prepared. And then they had this ambush meeting where they pulled me up and said, we're going to have to put you on an improvement program and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm not, that's not cool. And at the same time, I'd been really struggling with back pain. And I actually later on got diagnosed with apparently a crumbling spine. So my spine is like slowly degenerating. I don't know why I'm laughing at that. And I needed steroid injections just to get out of bed. I had steroid injections right in my back. So I was taking a little bit of time off as well. And then they pulled me in for this meeting. And the woman that I thought was really on my side didn't say a single thing, just let me get steamrolled. And she said afterwards, she said, "You're going to be here tomorrow? You're right. Can you handle that?" She goes, it's all bullshit. Can you handle it? I'm like, yeah, I'll be right. I'll be back tomorrow. But my back was that bad. I couldn't face it. Like, I was at the point where I'd sit down to check my emails, and I was nauseous, wondering about what I was going to be attacked over. There's just this constant toxic, and people talk about a toxic environment. That's exactly where I was at. So my back was playing up that night. I had to call up and say, look, I'll be in sick today. I won't be in sick today. And went to the doctor, and he's like, yeah, this is pretty serious. I want you to go get some scans. I'm like, yeah, I've got a crumpling spine, so I'd take more time off. See you, hockey. No, she didn't take my job. She was actually my boss. So she was so far above me in terms of the structure and the hierarchy. And like she'd been doing her leadership role for longer than I'd been doing my practical role, like the hands-on role that I did. I've been doing it for 15 years. She'd been in a leadership role for 20 years. So she's been doing this forever. But she was the most insecure, toxic. She like any like the staff would complain about her, and she'd say, if I hear you complaining about me, which one's libel? Is libel the one that you, thanks for hanging out for a bit, hockey. Is libel the one where you speak, or when you slander? Slander and libel. Libel's written and slander's spoken, right? Jason probably knows. And she said, whichever one it is, if I hear you talking shit about me, she said, essentially, I'll get you for slander. I'll sue you. And she had a lawyer on hand that would just like hand out these cease and desist. If you do not stop talking shit about this woman, we will take you to court for slander because you're affecting her reputation. I'm like, she's affecting her own fucking reputation. So I didn't end up going back to work. There you go, slander is spoken. That's what I thought it was. I figured libel was the written version. It just sounds right. And I didn't end up going back. And then my contract ran out. And unfortunately, the whole the industry requires constant sign-offs and competency. So do you think she was my supervisor. So do you think she was going to sign off on me after that? She put together this 18-month hit piece on me. All the guys above her, she had them in their ears saying, this guy's trash, he can't work anymore. I've worked 15 years in this industry, no problems. Everybody loves me. Positive feedback, bunch of people happy to work with me, but she wouldn't sign off. So now my, I guess, like, credentials have been nullified, and I'm not really sure what the legal process is to get them reinstated. So at this point, I've got no qualifications. I've been out of the industry too long to have positive feedback from anyone. Like, I can't, if I went to get a job somewhere and said, I talked to this person I worked with 10 years ago, they're like, this is a cutting edge industry. This is everyday things change. You can't call on someone from 10 years ago to say you've still got the goods. What did you do last year? What did you do the year before? And eventually I'll have to say, well, I worked here. And if they know that person, because it's a big industry, but people know people, and she's still where she is. She's still making everybody's life miserable. Like, she wasn't just me. She hated everyone. Some mornings she'd have the young female staff in tears. They would just be in tears. And you're like, what are you crying about? They're like, I'm here, I'm still here, and I can't go anywhere because I've got to pay off a house. And they just went through stuff like crazy. I remember the first day I was there, and we had like an orientation sort of meeting and a welcome sort of thing for me. And you could just see everybody looking at me. And I recognize it now. It was, thanks, Corey. I appreciate that, brother. It was like, you poor bastard. Everyone was looking at me like, you poor bastard. Why did you take this assignment? Why did you accept this job? Why did nobody tell you you're walking into a trap? So she wouldn't sign off. I've got nobody else that, recently that will say I can do what I can do. And I don't really want to go too much into the industry there, Corey. It involves elements of IT, but the more I talk about it, the more likely I am to dock something. And it's, I don't honestly, like, I never really believed in triggering and trigger warnings and all that sort of stuff. But if I see something to do these days, if I see something to do with that industry that I was a part of, and it doesn't happen often because I don't go in those circles anymore. Like right now I'm talking to you guys, I've got a waver in my voice, my heartbeat's going faster, just talking about this stuff. Like, I get nervous just talking about this stuff because she was so tyrannical and she affected my mental health so severely that I now, when people say, oh, triggered this, triggered that, like just talking about it right now, my hands are shaky and my blood's up. I wasn't quite doing that, Jason, but I certainly wasn't shy about what I believed in. And there were times where we'd be called on to do stuff that was contrary to my personal beliefs, and I'd just say, look, I can't do that. I'm happy to do any other job in any other area, on the grounds, on another facility, whatever. Like, send me where you want to send me for the day or whatever. I'm not telling you can't do it. I'm just saying, I can't abide that. So can you, give me somewhere else or something else? I'll do any other job you want. I'll go scrub toilets. Give the cleaner the day off. I'll go do that. Rather than be on board with your agendas. But so that ended up with me being a stay-at-home dad. The missus ended up going back to work, which is fortunate because she's in a different industry that earns a lot more money than I did. She was home with the kids at the time, and we moved nearly out of state for this job to follow this contract because it was better money, but that didn't really mean anything when your mental health is shot and when you're too scared to look at your email every morning wondering what you're going to be blamed for. And she did this sort of thing where she'll say, oh, can all staff just be aware of X, Y, and Z and not do it in the future? And you're like, oh shit, have I done that? Is this about me? And it's something sort of innocuous that everybody will have done at some point. So then everybody's on notice and everybody's thinking, oh, she's got it in for me. Like, it was like a running joke. Who's on the shit list this week? And then other weeks, somebody be the golden child. Be like, oh, Steve, he's the golden child this week. He can do no wrong. But then next week, he'll be in the shit. Yeah. What do you even vote about over there, Jason says? Beer mostly. So I've gone up myself, set myself now talking about this stuff. Let's talk about good stuff. Let's talk about positive stuff. Like my wife going to the shops and getting me some new Sharpies for thanks, Odin. Thanks, man. Getting some new Sharpies to work on these. I'm looking at the live stream feed, not the YouTube feed. So I'm seeing your comments, I don't know, long after you write them or something. Like, there's a bit of a time difference. So if I'm engaging in conversations or I'm missing stuff, I apologize. But it's the best way for me to see what's on the screen. Yeah, I get that, Jason. I in some ways, it does feel good to talk about it, to get off my chest. I've actually been thinking about just going to go see a shrink just to talk about some of this stuff and in general, sort of, all the stuff that's going on with the scamdemic and all that. And like, I'm at the point where it's like, what happens when they say, okay, you've got to be vaccinated to work? But if they say to my wife, oh, look, you're in an industry where you interact with people, you've got to be vaccinated to work. And I don't want her to get that vaccine, and she doesn't want to get the vaccine. What do? We got a mortgage, What if they pass a thing that says all jobs need to be vaccinated? What do you do then? I don't own my house. I can't just go live off the grid in the woods sort of thing. There's only so far you can go with that. Like, I'm growing most of my own vegetables and food and that, but you still got to pay land tax. You still got to pay the bloody rates the other day. It's only $2,000 a year. But how do you make $2,000 without engaging in the rest of humanity? At least we don't need a license to collect rainwater over here. I do have a really supportive wife, man. She's fantastic. I'm very, very lucky. I often joke, married up and that sort of thing, which is. I remember, there's guys out there, happy life, happy wife, happy life. And I was talking to this other guy, and he said, I don't subscribe to that. That sort of thing you parrot mindlessly, and it's a bit of a joke. Haha, the old ball and chain. Doesn't matter how great they are and how much you love them. It's a bit of a joke, isn't it? But I've never been a fan of, I'm going to go over the place here, women who put their fella down. I remember years and years, and you go at art school, something come up, just people talking shit. And this one guy was like, oh, fucking Lee's probably got a small dick. Sort of, that was, this joke that he made offhand. He's a real shit stirrer. He didn't take anything for it. And the girl I was dating at the time immediately jumped to my defense, like, no. And, I didn't need her to do that. But I like when partners back each other up. I don't like when they snipe at each other or when they put each other down in front of the other people. You're not honoring, like, you chose that person and they chose you. You're not honoring them. If you're like, oh, bloody, Janice, we're 15 minutes late because of bloody Janice sitting in the car, waiting for her for half an hour. It's like, well, you might be cross, but don't dishonor her in front of other people. Just be there together as a unit, So this guy's like, I don't subscribe to happy wife, happy life. And I'm like, oh yeah, what's your reasoning there? And is it happy house, happy spouse, happy house? And he's like, well, no, because ultimately it doesn't matter who they are. Everyone's going to let you down at some point. Even your wife, even the person you love most in the world is going to let you down. Corey, which one of you crazy buggers decided to put this crisscrossing all over the axe? Look at that. I don't want to draw that. I will though. Is this? I'm glad to hear, Dean. Is this chill hop? Can you guys hear that? Do you care? Do you not care? It doesn't matter. It's okay. I'm louder than it, so it doesn't matter anyway. Well, Cora, you're out of control, son. You're an absolute dead set ripper legend, and I don't know the logic behind it. I mean, I understand you don't want to leave it. It's just a big flat field of nothing, but come on, son. Corey, if you or your brother backed company, man, I'll be happy to send this sketch card to you and the rewards if you want it. I was able to take a few requests. I was able to get Con the Fruiter for hockey last time. And I'm going to get that one of the Duke sent off to Crazy Mad. I'll make it work. He's a good dude. Feels in the dead air. All two of them. Yeah. There's always something to talk about. I've been on watched a few draw streams. I think maybe subconsciously I was trying to do a bit of research and see what the expectation is. And I found a lot of people really slow. Like, it takes forever to draw the picture. There's one guy I was watching. He's a cool dude and all, and he's doing like some basic sort of breakdown sketches to get the character drawn, just some figures and stuff. And it took him like 20 minutes to draw one leg. And I'm like, that's 20 minutes of my life I'm not getting back, So I wanted to. That's too bad. Firewatch, you had a bad run lately, man. We've got to see what we can do to get things back in the black for you, Not financially, but like metaphysically in the universal sense. Thanks, Tobal. I'm pretty happy with this one, actually. It helps that I've got a picture of Chief Baron right here to look off, and I'm basically, like, as a different poser, I'm basically cribbing all the details that Corey and Clayton have put together on the character, so I don't actually have to think about this one. I can do this on almost an autopilot. I can just see their details, translate them across to what I'm drawing, and it doesn't have to be exact. That's the great thing about it, is it's kind of cheating, It's like I was saying last time with when I was sending Dean sketches of the Sinner about how I think he should look, which includes a collar, not a hood. I will just get a picture of Batman and just basically trace that and put the Sinner's detail on top of it, because why not? Why make it harder for myself? His little sister just woke up, and anytime she wakes up first thing in the morning and he sees her, he goes, "Oh, it's my little sister. Oh, I love you." They're so loving. They love each other so much, and and things are going pear-shaped sometimes. I just think back to those times when they've been when in doubt, put a hood on it. You would say that, Dean. Like there's been times doing this whole process with Dean with the costume where I've been really frustrated, just like, no, fuck it, I'm walking away. Get up and walk away from the keyboard. It's nothing he's done. I just learning to play better with others, But Dean, I really do appreciate all your input, and I don't discount anything you say, even when I think you're flat out wrong. I don't discount it. I do listen to it and take it on board. Might just put a nice black outline on this. Finish his hand, of course, because hands are just so easy to draw. as easy to draw as women. Oh, I'm so bad at drawing women. It's because I never really did a lot of it. I'd rather draw Superman than Supergirl, you know. So I'm more comfortable drawing big muscly guys in skin tight outfits than I am drawing the fairer sex. All right, Oz. So what I'm doing, if you're an American and you've backed the book, with the sketches, I will put a little note to RJ saying, "Hey, can you put some monkey magic for us? Can you put that in there?" I can't guarantee it'll happen. You know, like he's packing them all, sending them all off, that sort of thing. Oh yeah, I've got to draw Poiter too. Don't let me forget, Dean. Appreciate you guys who hung around, even though hockey's got a show going at the moment. I'm sure this is going to be really entertaining, but I'm glad you guys are still here. I'd like to think I'm offering a chill alternative, a nice chill vibe. That's what I'm trying to do with this late night DJ voice. I think I need a thicker texture. I don't know if I have a thicker texture. It might be too thick. That's more like it. So this guy was saying, you know, if you rely on your wife to make you happy, at some point she's going to let you down. Can't help, it's human nature. At some point, because we're inherently selfish, there's points where you just choose yourself over someone else. You know, I noticed last night the boy said something to me, and I just tuned him out. It took me a minute. I'm like, oh, he's talking to me. He's told me something. He's come in and said, "Hey, Dad, this, and that." And I was just in my own head. I was just a bit tired. I just wanted a bit of me time, and I didn't consciously ignore him, but it wasn't totally out of my control either. You know what I mean? It's somewhere in between conscious and unconscious, like a subconscious. My decision. Oh, hockey's still here, mate. Oh, I don't know, man. You guys are fun. You and Ali are fun together. I don't doubt people will pop over and say g'day. Skip's a good dude. I really like Skip. I'm really fond of Skip. I want to like people. I want to be on good terms with people. I don't know this drama. There's nobody I'm really like against. I don't have any enemies. Part of that's not big enough to have enemies, but someone said to me the other day, you know, like I never hear anybody talk shit about chemo's. Well, maybe it's really good at hiding it, but what is there to talk shit about? I'm not controversial enough. I'm just making my CIA comics. I'd go crazy if listening to what my nephews actually said was a requirement. Yeah, sometimes it can be pretty inane, but I want, you know, you're not wrong. I definitely want to foster that creativity. I remember being a kid, and you know, I was a pretty, you know, like I said with my art, I've plateaued. I was this good when I was 18, and now I'm 40. I haven't grown at all, and that's on me. And I also think there's I've said before, there's a level of natural talent that you just hit a point where you just cannot go necessarily any further. Yeah, a lot of people say I talk fast. I'm trying to slow that right down today, but people often say it like a positive thing, like it's funny, like almost like it's a bit of a sideshow attraction, which I don't mind if they find that entertaining. I don't see it as a bad thing. It's just a thing. Yeah, that's not a bad idea, Jason. And sometimes it is. Sometimes, you know, it's just canned responses like, "Oh, that's cool. Oh, really? Okay. That's. Did you have fun? Did you enjoy that? Is that your favorite? Do you like that?" You know, those sort of things that don't really mean anything. But I want him to feel like I'm engaged because, like I said, I remember, you know, taking pictures to my dad when I was a kid and saying, "Hey, I made this," and he's like, "I don't care." He wasn't quite that blunt about it, but even as a kid, I could figure out I'm better at this than most people. I enjoy doing it and I invest time in it, and I can tell my father doesn't really care. So I don't want to do that with my boy. And my dad only lives about a half hour away, and I talk to him on the phone probably once a month for 5 minutes. And we stop by for dinner, twice a month maybe. Yeah, definitely, Dean. It's all about the writing for me these days. I enjoy the drawing as like a therapeutic thing, the same way I enjoy gardening. And gardening has a function because it keeps me fed. I've got about 30 pumpkins out of the last pumpkin vine I just pulled out. Got a bunch of cabbage and spinach to put in, some squash. I've got some squash seeds off my dad. But I don't hang out with my dad. We don't have any hobbies in common. He's just a workhorse. For him, it's just all about the job. And I never felt neglected as a kid. Looking back, it's a little bit cat's in the cradle. He works with his hands, so it's just like, can you build a fence, son? I'm like, no, I can't. Then get the fuck out of here. So I want my boy to, I like Warhammer 40k and stuff like that. I'd love for when he's my age. When he's my age, I'm going to be pretty old. I'd love for when he's like 20, 25. If he comes home for a visit, and he's like, oh, Dad, have you seen the new Age of Sigmar box set that come out? I'm like, son, I've actually bought it. I bought a copy. Come out the back and have a look. And you go out the shed and pull it out. Oh, these models are so cool. Would you want to have the Orcs or do you want to have the Stormcast? Oh, I have the Stormcast. Right, well, let's start putting them together. And, I'd love to do that sort of thing, have a shared interest. When I was working with my father, he works on a farm, essentially. And I was out there on the farm. I was pretty ineffective. Like I was not so at the time that trying to help him put a fence in here, one of those those post hammers, it's like a tube with two handles on the side, and you put the open tube over top of the post and you hammer it in by moving it up and down, and it's above your head. And I don't know if you guys know, but trying to move your arms up and down above your head while lifting this 20-kilo fence post and smash, it's hard. It's really hard. I was only able to literally move it about a half a dozen times before I had to say, look, Dad, I'm embarrassed and I'm sorry, but I can't do this. Like, I'm just not conditioned. I can't lift my arms anymore. They're not working. And then he spent the rest of the day putting this fence in. I was off doing something else. I was probably picking fruit or something. And he's just built different. He's just this little genetic freak. He's only a little dude. He's only like 5'5", but he's just built like a tank, and he could just go all day. Yeah, hockey also. I mean, just like some good board games. Some. I really like Carcassonne. I like that because it's low skill, low commitment, but anybody can pick it up within a few minutes. It's all visual. Like you could play with somebody that doesn't speak the same language as you, and it wouldn't be a problem. So if, giving up a bit of my time to listen to the boy now can lead to relationships like that in the future, I'd be pretty happy. He might be doing reviews of Company Man issue 25. There's at least 12, and then there's all the side ones. I was having a look at some of the Company Man Black issues night before last, I think. I'm really, just because they're more Suicide Squad-esque in those books. The boss, you just throw esque on the anything, can't you? It's Jason Black-esque, it's Dean-esque, it's Chad-esque. Boss gets these actual criminals and people that have in pretty dire situations but have got metahuman powers, and it's like, okay, you need this, you're in a bad situation, I will give you this if you do this suicidal job. That's doing it right, Table. I've actually got an elfin army for my wife. I bought the whole thing from Reaper. It's like $1,000 worth of elves. Bought it with her own money. I don't know if that's a Chad move or not. I'm painting them up with purples and greens and pinks and gossamer wings and colour shift paints and all that sort of stuff. It's taking bloody forever. But getting there. What was I talking about? What was Chad-esque? No, I've lost it. That happens. I like D&D. I like any sort of tabletop roleplay type game. I do find the roleplay aspect of it a little bit challenging. Like, I'm not a fan of dress up or cosplay or anything. Like, I don't have a problem if somebody else wants to do it. There's some amazing cosplays out there. And if that's your hobby, that's all good. But I feel like a goose dressed up like that sort of stuff. A couple of months ago, one of my wife's colleagues had a birthday party, and it was a what's it called? Not Talented Mr. Ripley. What's the other one? Like same sort of era. I think it had Leonardo DiCaprio in it, but it's a book. It's a famous book. Oh, come on, it's right on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, it's 1920s flapper type stuff. Tennis jumper around your sweater around your shoulders sort of era. Moles and mobsters type thing. And you're supposed to get dressed up for it. And my logic to my wife was, well, there was still cowboys operating somewhere in the world in the 1920s, so I'm just going to wear my cowboy hat and my sheepskin jacket. No, well, that's the thing, Dean. I don't find them fun. I find them stressful, and I feel like an absolute dickhead if I get dressed up. I don't like it. I'd rather just wear my clothes. You know that scene in Batman Returns where Bruce Wayne turns up as Bruce Wayne? It works, though, because the joke is, Batman's the real him and that Bruce Wayne's the costume. That's not a fire take. That's a take nearly as old as I am. I think this one's nearly done. I might come in with some greys, though. I don't know if it needs it. It's pretty high contrast. It's pretty detailed. I'm glad you suggested this one, Corey. Bloody light's got a bit of glare. Great Gatsby, that's the one. Thanks, mate. That's exactly what I was talking about. You guys get me. Is it better without the light? Should I just not... Should I not have the light on it? I don't know. I might just black in this corner here. Thanks, Corey. I'm glad you approve. It matters more when it's the creator. When I see somebody draw the company, man, it blows my mind to see their interpretation of it. And that's something I'm really proud to post is when I post up those 4 or 5 or 6 pinups I've got done. And each one is in a different style, and each one's legitimate, and each one looks great, but it's still clearly them. I guess you can tell Jura from Jura, you can tell Abbott from Abbott. It's very obvious who each character is. Oh yeah, Company Man Black, I was talking about that. And just how much I enjoy those stories because they're a lot shorter and a lot punchier, and it's just like, it's very much like a Suicide Squad movie. You've been picked up, you're being sent here for this reason. You're not all coming back alive. Those that do get what I promised them. And there's some really great scope to do cool stuff within that. G'day, Peter. Thanks for turning up, mate. Oh, you're a cheeky bugger, Dean. I might just let this sit and dry for a sec. I forgot to do his axe. His bloody axe. Corey Barton. Abbott's the black chick. Hey, Fizz. Well, a lot of people play D&D online these days. I was playing it online with your boy Smiling Bandito, and that was cool. That was cool because there's a lot less organization involved. I mean, you do Roll20, and you can have your little character pips, and you can have your little images for the enemies and stuff, and you've got a grid that you can move characters around on and everything. It's in some ways, it's easier than doing it in person. I was part of a D&D group online one years ago. And I found that was a big, when I say time drain, it sounds negative, but like it was it would take me hours to prepare these campaigns. It wasn't D&D, it was a different game, different system. But I mean, when you say D&D, people know what you're talking about. And it got to the point where I couldn't do it anymore. I don't think people realize how much time and effort some DMs and GMs put into preparing this stuff. Like, you got to try and cover every contingency. Or you don't, I'd probably be better at now, just freeform a lot of it. And then I was involved in another one where I was a player, not a player. I'm a player. Where I was a player, not the GM or the DM. And this guy would just turn up and he'd start doing these missions. And I'm like, so what's it look like? What's the monster look like? He goes, it's just like basically the monster from Alien. It's just the alien. It's got acid blood and everything. That's just lazy, man. We're playing a D&D campaign with like caveman dinosaur type stuff, and you just throw the alien in there. I didn't have a lot of time to prepare. That's a you problem, man. Don't make it a me problem. So I was determined to always have quality campaigns for the guys that turn up. It's not easy to organize it online. People flake. People just disappear. They just don't turn up. Instead of saying, oh, look, it's just become like I've enjoyed it. It's cool. Just even if you haven't, even if you hated it, just lies. Oh, man, it's been a cool campaign. I really enjoyed it. Happy to do another one another time. Just got a lot going on right now, and I just can't commit anymore. I hope it doesn't stop you guys from playing, and I'll catch you next time. Like just leave on a high, leave positively. The dudes just stop turning up, and all of you just sitting there for like 45 minutes going, "G'day, Earth." Where is this guy? Is he coming back or not? All right, I think that's. I'm going to come back in with some greys later. I'm just going to let it sit for a minute. I'm pretty happy with that, but again, it's cheating because I had Corey and Clayton's picture right there in front of me to copy the details from. Like, if you look at the picture of Kozor from the main campaign page, you can see I've copied bit for bit where the armor details are. I've just put them on like a more static picture. G'day, Neff. Here you go, mate. Thanks, Quiet Red. Thanks. Geez, look at people turning up. I appreciate you guys being here. It's there's 12 of you, but that's cool. That's cool that 12 of you think spending time here with me is worth your time. I mean, it's 9:30 in the morning for me. Who should I draw next? So that's card number 21. Let's just sign that. Now, these are obviously going to be packed in with the comics. I'm not going to actually address them and stamp them. I'm just going to get them slipped in. Draw Earth. Oh, I can't draw women. Haha, that's my out. I'm absolutely garbage at drawing women, so I just don't do it. So it's just a complete sausage fest up in here. Oh, Vegeta, that'd be tricky. That's a bit like number 21. That'd be like Homer because it's got to be on. I was going to say it's got to be on model. What are you swearing about, Dean? But maybe it doesn't. Maybe I could do like this westernized, exaggerated Vegeta Vader. That'd be a bit of a challenge. That'd be a bit of a challenge. I mean, Darth Vader or the wrestler? Porter. I will get to Porter. Let me get some comic characters down first. The Iron Sheik. Break your neck, the Iron Sheik. Was it Vader or Darth Vader? I'm not going to forget Porter again. Much. I'm going to assume it was Darth Vader with all those blacks and highlights and that sort of stuff. He should be pretty interesting to draw. No, I can't be Ray Skywalker because I can't draw women. I'm really not good at it, and I just don't. Like I got to get so many of these done. Drawing women is not going to make it any easier or any faster for me. So I'm just going to stay right away from the fairer sex. I'd never time you out, Neff. No, I still haven't seen. Oh, Kenshiro, that's a good one. Kenshiro. All right, we'll give Vader a go. And we might try hitting up Kenshiro after that. I do like the idea of trying a Vegeta though. Now, I've got to reference Vader because I don't really know his costume that well. I only know he's got like that Amiga on his chest. I haven't really paid a lot of attention to his costume. Curvy with big melons. Well, I agree with that. I figure, hey, if that's good enough for my wife to, be depicted as, and that's good enough for all the women I draw. Voldemort. Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. His head looks a bit small. It's This is going to be challenging. I've never drawn him before. I don't know his costume very well at all. But that's good. I'm like I said in a tweet I did a while ago. I think I got better from the first one of these to the second. G'day, good stuff. Yeah, it's definitely got that samurai vibe. And back then, it wouldn't have been very well known, the whole samurai thing, unless people had been watching Shogun with Richard Chamberlain, which, I mean, let's be honest, everybody should. Aerith, when you say don't do a thing, you know what happens. Bancroft's just so memeable. I don't know if he realizes, if he hates it or if I don't know if I like this or not. I don't know if he hates it or if he's just like, this is, it's what do they say? Anything worse about somebody saying bad things about you is not talking about you at all. Like he might not like the big forehead memes, but it keeps him in the forefront of people's minds. He might not like your bingo for him was absolutely spot on the other day. The chance that Bancroft to talk about his rich upbringing and all that sort of stuff. I was in tears. That was so spot on with everything that he does on his show. Shows a bit of insight, I think. All these people turning up to see me draw. What a trip. Now, I've asked this question a bunch of times, but I've never actually seen in the chat if there was an answer, if I just missed it. I don't know if I like that. I don't like doing these like torso shots, but he's just so complex and there's too much of him to fit on the one page. Can you guys hear the chill hop, and is it okay? Oh no, Jason, you said that it feels the dead air, which there is none. Okay, that's cool. I'm not sure about that helmet. I feel like it needs to be higher. Anyway, we'll come in with some tones, I think. Well, whichever way. Thanks, Peter. Thanks, man. I appreciate you turning up. Whichever way we get you here, Tobor. Don't make it weird. Weird about what? I don't get it. Whichever way you're here, whether it's through nefarious means or whether it's through strong arming, I'm glad you're here. I'm just going to come in with some tones to define the shapes and then come back through with the pen later on. So you're going to get a much sketchier, looser sort of style, more painterly. But I like that. I like that sort of thing. When I was at art school, I used to do these big canvases. I'd make them out of MDF with a wooden frame because, quite simply, canvas wasn't robust enough. I could draw a dragon. I could do that. Wasn't robust enough to handle the energy I'd put into the brush strokes. Like I paint with a big brush. Sometimes I'd go to like Home Depot, you'd call it, and if I say what paints have you got that nobody wants, so they've got mixed up and they hate it, and then they sell the paint to the public for a couple of bucks, and I just get whatever colors they have, and take them back to the painting studio and just throw them on these big canvas. And these canvases are like 8 foot by 5.5, 6 foot. Very often I have to get my father to help me make them and move them around because they're just that big. Excuse me. He'd come in with his truck every couple of weeks and drop off another half a dozen. I sold pretty much everything. G'day, Colin. I sold pretty much everything I made in art school. I don't have a lot left over from that time. I enjoyed it, but it's not a career. Or if it's a career, it's your whole career, and you've got to be doing it all the time, and you've got to be seen, and you've got to be out and about at everybody else's show, and you've got to do art swaps, and you've got to buy their art, so you buy their art. A bit of a thing I feel like I'm seeing happening in CG a bit, and I don't know how we're going to get away from it. I don't know how we're going to get around it. Is I think Bandito was the one that first sort of quoted this to me. He says, we're creators buying from other creators. We need to be expanding the fans, the audience base, because at the moment, if I'm buying Aerith's book and Aerith's buying my book and Corey buying my book and I buy his book, like that's not sustainable, because if I buy everybody else's book to get them to buy mine, I'm lucky to break even, and I won't, because the book costs money to produce. I don't think many of us are making a profit on each copy sold, so it's not at all sustainable to operate like that. And the art scene there's some dodgy stuff happening with dudes who own galleries and had clout would and it didn't happen to sort of me directly, but people I knew and people I knew who I knew said there was like, just going to flat up say it, like just these dudes expecting sexual favors from young artists to get showings and to get seen and to be promoted and that sort of stuff. Like there was that sort of thing going on in the scene, and yeah, that happened to a few people, and whether it's true or not, it's a pretty disturbing thing. Well, I don't want to be a part of that. No thanks. I'm going a lot looser on this picture because I can come back over. Like, if you guys have ever seen Simon Bisley's Fistful of Blood, which is like a vampires versus zombies in the Old West, and this huge boobed naked chick comes wandering out of the desert, and she just gets some guns and kills everybody. There's more to it than that. It's like The Man Without a Name, but if he was some porno star with 6 guns bigger than your forearm. And it's super painterly. Like there's some panels he doesn't even use ink. He just goes straight pencil and says, "That's it. I'm done. I'm Simon Bisley. Cope." And I loved that. I loved the immediacy of it, the rawness of it. I've long thought. I mean, that would have been 20 years ago. Back when I was in high school, I would have seen this, and I've long thought it'd be very cool to make a comic like that. Yeah, well, I mean, Bancroft's in a good position, Jason, to do that sort of stuff. I mean, he's sort of in prime position right now. He's CG, but still sort of neutral enough that he won't necessarily get tailed with that brush. That can sometimes hold people back. He's not, he's got the Australian angle going for him. People seem to like the Aussies. I still maintain he's about the least Australian of all the Australians, but nobody's listening to me. It's like this Melbourne toff with his rollerblading career and stuff. Yes. Has he ever worked on a farm? Has he ever even seen a kangaroo? I'm sure he got that footage of someone else. I don't think he really saw that footage. Has he ever fought a kangaroo? Like, that's the standard. He drinks VB, but I never see him open a VB. I'm sure it's all Stella Artois, and he just pours it into a VB can. Jason, aren't you CGNZ? Isn't it just you? Is there anybody else? I'll be pretty shattered if you tell me that you hate me. So just like when you're doing miniature painting, I'm doing like reverse highlights now, but each time you add another tone, it's smaller than the one before it. So the one that you've already done can be seen underneath it. And that leads to layering and build up. Usually with miniature painting, what you do is you'll build up your highlights like that. So if you've got someone with a red cape, you lay down some red and then you mix a little bit of orange in it and you do another layer over top of the red, but it's just slightly smaller, and you just leave the last bit of red you had showing through the seams. And then you do it again, but you mix a little bit more orange into it until you get to these really high, tight point highlights that are almost pure orange mixed with white even, or yellow to get it brighter. Yeah, Colin, it's a funny sort of industry, the whole art industry. I don't miss it. I miss painting, but that's something, like somebody said, that could be a hobby. You just do that yourself. You do that because you love it. I saw it and I said, it's not a career. It's not. And, the people that were teaching me at the art schools were still starving artists themselves. They were showing and they were exhibiting. I mean, this one guy, he taught us, it's funny, he taught us drawing, but it was mixed media drawing, but he was a painter. I'm like, why didn't he do the painting class? His paintings would regularly sell from between $60,000 to $100,000 each. Like, why are you here? Why are you here, old man? But a lot of them are just starving artists that were constantly, we'd be like going for a lesson. They're like, okay, well, I've got an exhibition on, so today's lesson is we're going to go look at my exhibition. It's not actually, it wasn't actually taught anything. And then, and then there's people there in the school and the scene that would be sucking. Oh, can I buy one? Like, I want this one, and they'd be like spending their money. And I'm like, this one dude, he owned a limo company and he'd gone to art school because I suppose he just always wanted to do it. This English fella named Michael. He's absolutely legend, top bloke. And, so he earned more money every week than most of these artists would earn in a month or a year. And these guys are telling him how to paint and how to draw. And he was older than most of them. He's this guy who's got kids, grandkids, built up a business, and he just decided one day, I'm going to go to art school. And he's good. He's a talented painter. Really good at blending. I'm like, it seems a bit weird to bring your own students into your gallery showing and saying, and then when they want to buy your work, yeah, sure, you can supplement my income. Well, I'm already paying you. Someone's digging me on Facebook. And it's either going to be my brother or Dean, because they're the only people I talk to on Facebook. And Dean's here. Who's Stephen Bradbury? Most artists, the most pretentious, petty, and usually unattractive people in the world. Yeah, he's pretty thick, isn't he? He's pretty thick. He's a thick boy with 2 C's. I'm not loving it. That helmet is tricky, man. I see why a lot of these, and I don't validate it, but I see like a lot of these Star Wars artists straight up just trace panels and poses out of Star Wars movies. He's got a very unique design. It's not at all easy to pull off. Well, let's see if we can't cut back into that a bit with some of the darks there. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you guys have seen that graphic that gets around, and it shows the amount of effort and the number of people involved necessary to create a piece of media. And on one end of the scale it's actually a vertical scale. On the top end, with the least amount of people involved and the most amount of skill, I believe, is writing a book, writing a novel. And then underneath that is, making a comic or making an artwork. And then right down the bottom is making a video game, where you need less skill because you're only doing one part of the job, but it requires more people to make. I do like the immediacy of writing. Like I can see, I've got several 300,000 word books, 300,000 word novels, and it's just me. It just took me. It's just me at my tablet with my little Bluetooth keyboard, banging away whenever I had a spare minute. And I've written these books, and I love them. I'm really proud of them. I'm really happy with them. And the idea that I can just do that whenever I want, and I don't need permission, and there's nothing nobody can stop me. The kids stop me by interrupting me, but that's about it. And like, nobody can stop me from making these things. I love that. I love the immediacy of writing. As Hemingway said, he tries to say what he's trying to say on the page the best and quickest way possible, and that's how he writes. I'm like, that's good advice. Now, best is completely subjective. I was reading American Tabloid by James Elroy, and man, it requires a mind shift to sort of get your head around how vital and right now each word is and each phrase. I was reading that he cut his first book was 800 pages. He cut it down to 395 pages by eliminating all the verbs. What a mad lad. So it takes a different mindset to read something like that. But then, I can't at all get into Blood Meridian or anything by Cormac McCarthy. I've tried so many times. And I was just reading the words. I was reading Blood Meridian. I was just reading the words, and it wasn't even, I couldn't even follow the narrative. It'd be like if you're sitting there and you're reading something in Spanish, you can sound out phonetically the words, and you're probably saying it wrong because the accent and the different things sound, but you could still sound out the words. That's what I felt like I was doing with Cormac McCarthy's work. I just could not, and people rave over it. I'm like, it's just too abstract for me. I might come back with a bit of liquid paper and do some highlights on this after the fact. I'm not loving it, but how many times have I said that and it's come good by the end? So we'll see. Let's get that thick boy out. A thick texture for a Australian former short track. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh Oh, Bancroft's dying right now and he doesn't even know it. That laugh was so good it got rid of my headache. How can one man be so BTFO'd and not even know what happened to him? I normally write the names of the characters on the back of these. Maybe I should sign this one Thick Vader. It looks a lot smoother in real life. It's looking pretty rough on the screen there. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of James Ellroy's work. It's raw though. It's like it's really. And I was gonna ask one of my Whisper networks about this, and some of the people from that Whisper network is here, but I couldn't find a way to phrase it in the written word, which is admitting a shortcoming as a writer. So maybe I'll just say it out loud here. Something like, if you guys know James Ellroy's work, if you don't, if you've seen LA Confidential with Russell Crowe and Guy Pearce, he wrote that, and that's probably his tamest book. White Jazz and Black Dahlia are brutal. Like the way he describes what happens to the murder victims and how they're all cut up and stuff. Like, I don't think he gets any joy out of it. He might be exercising some demons. And there's a bunch of dudes that do that. Not James Patterson. What's the other one? He's not James Patterson. He's got a similar name though. And he does this series of books about an ex-cop who got kicked off the force and becomes a detective, and private detective, and he thwarts all these killings. And after like 8 books, 6 books, all of a sudden he just introduces supernatural elements into it. So this whole time it's like Dexter or something. And fighting. I hate this. Fighting. This is what happens when you try to copy off of a photo, doesn't it? Because I don't know the character well enough. I think I hate this one more than I hate the Raphael one I did. And he does all this stuff with the serial killers and this sliced open eyeballs and gory sockets and all this sort of brutal stuff. And then if you guys have seen the original Death Wish movies, there's some pretty brutal scenes, particularly early on. And the idea being to motivate you to hate the bad guys because they do horrible things to people who can't defend themselves. And few things make a person more incensed than seeing someone who's done nothing be harmed for no good reason. I can watch Out for Justice with Steven Seagal 10 times a week and see Richie get his face beat in with a frying pan because he's a scumbag POS who needs to die. But these people in Death Wish, they didn't deserve any of that to happen to them. They're just like Charles Bronson's maid, like she didn't. If you guys have seen it, you know what I'm talking. Jason's he's gonna keep me accountable. Thanks, man. Good thing I've got thick skin, guys. So, there's this whole subsection of media that's just really brutal. And this is my point. This is what I'm building towards. This is what I wanted to ask my favorite Whisper network, but wasn't sure how to phrase it in a way that I could get my whole point across. And here I can just ramble as long as I want because you guys, you're either here or you're not. So James Ellroy, he's been criticized about the language in his books because it's very real, and he's dropping the N-word like no one's business, and no ethnicity is safe. Now, he surely doesn't subscribe to these ideas, adhere to these beliefs, but the people in his book do because people at the time did. If you're going to pretend there never was racism, then I don't know, I've got a bridge to sell you. But he started writing in the early 80s and was writing in an era where you just didn't have access to the creator. Okay, here's my point. If somebody wanted to criticize James Ellroy, they were criticizing this abstract guy who they were never going to run into. That he didn't have a Twitter. He's got to be pretty old by now. Probably still doesn't have a Twitter. So if you're going to criticize the guy, okay, so yeah, Tarantino is a good example. But it's all tongue in cheek, so it's almost like people give him a pass. And then he goes and talks about how my mom dated a lot of black guys at the time. That's terrible, Tarantino. What are you doing? So my point is, I've got some pretty raw stuff that I want to write. I was watching an episode of Walker, Texas Ranger. It's not so much the N-word, Dean. I'm still building to my point. Sorry, I'm all over the place. Let me get this. There you go. Bring that highlight back in there. I was watching this episode of Walker, Texas Ranger, and there's like this hit, not a hitman, a hit woman. And I'm like, there's just some elements here. I thought I've got, when I come up with a concept, it happens all at once. I don't just go, oh, okay, she's a female hitman, she's a hit woman, I can write a story about that. I like get her background, how she looks, the particular weapon she uses, her MO, the way people interact with her, the way her nickname, her relationship with the police, her relationship with the gang, with the CIA, all this sort of stuff. Like I get the whole concept at once. It's like somebody's just dropping a nearly complete idea straight into my head and saying, run with it, son. And I do. So, I was watching this episode of Walker, and there's this female hitman on there, and I'm like, I could write this whole series about this female hired killer. It'd be set in the 80s. It'd be really grimy, really mean. She's using silenced weapons and stuff, and having to use her smarts and her seductiveness, and which like people were shitting on Black Widow movie, but that scene where Black Widow's sister, whose name I can't remember because she doesn't matter to me, she tries to take out this one guard, and she does a full-on like running body press swing around him, knock him down type move that we've seen Black Widow do a bunch of times. And she had to do that because otherwise she was going to get bodied. Like the dude was twice my size. There's no way she could run in there and just beat him up. She doesn't have super soldier serum. She's not enhanced. So and I noticed it in Civil War when Black Widow was fighting Crossbones blokes. She's doing the same thing, a lot of flippy shit, a lot of running and jumping and flipping around their own body using their weight against them. I thought it was pretty good because it's sort of saying, hey, we know that she can't just go toe-to-toe with a big guy for you. She needs to be tricky about it, and she needs to... I think this is going to help the picture. Finishing off these eyes is going to help the picture. So this hit woman, hired assassin, would do all that sort of stuff. She'd do smart stuff. She'd set up traps, and she'd entrap the blokes that she's got to kill. And she can handle herself in a fight, but she's not going to get into a fight with like 4 guys and walk away. Like that'd be her dead. So she's got to be smart about it. And she ends up building almost like a mysticism about her persona to the point where people are scared to double cross her. The point is like, hey Chico, I'm a tough guy. I'm not scared of anybody, but I'm scared of her because I don't think she's human. I think she's a bit like the Phantom. He builds up this persona. So this is a series that I've just come up with, and I wrote 7 or 8 plot points for story, and it all forms one big story. So it'd be 7 novels, probably 50 to 100,000 words each. And I just write them and sell one every 6 months or so, and then sell them all as a bundle when it's done. And here's the thing. So I'm accessible as a creator online, and we know cancel culture is real. We know it is as real as the teeth in your head. I love that bit of highlight there with the marker. That's cool. I'm going to come in with some hatching and see if this salvages the thing. 10 o'clock. Heaps of time. So, I was going to have some... Again, I'll reference Death Wish, some Death Wish type stuff in it. If you've seen the first couple of Death Wish movies, you know what I'm talking about. There's some pretty visceral, brutal rapes in there. There's some pretty brutal... I just got my channel flagged. F the chat. You guys are all going to disappear in a sec. There's some really brutal stuff in there. And that's the sort of story I want to write, not because I need to exorcise demons, not because I enjoy seeing people get hurt, not because I like... that and support that idea, but just because that's the story that came into my head, and I hate to waste them, and I love writing, and it'd be different, it'd be challenging, and I think it'd be visceral, and people would get on board. But I'm really accessible. So if I write this book, and I can do fade to black, like I don't like porn, I don't like writing sexy sexual stuff, I don't like sex in my movies. I particularly don't like sex in movies when I'm eating or drinking, because then sex has a flavor, and I don't want to be thinking about that while I'm eating Doritos or something. Like it crosses over the senses. I don't like it. So if I'm writing this brutal 80s type Charles Bronson rape and murder stories, Now, James Ellroy wrote worse stuff than I'll ever write. It's brilliant. It's genius. It's visceral. It's evocative. It'll leave you reeling. You feel like you need to have a shower afterwards. But can I get away with having that sort of stuff associated with my account, with me, with my other products? I don't want to do a pseudonym type thing. I want all my stuff to be under the one banner. But I don't know if you can make these books anymore. James Ellroy wrote his books in the 80s and even pre-2000. I don't know. I really want to write it, and I probably will, but what do I do with it? Am I asking for trouble? Am I self-censoring for no good reason? You know, your work will find its audience. The people who like it will like it. The people who don't won't. But I think I'm worried that by engaging this stuff, I could damage my name and my reputation, such as it is, irrevocably, to a point where I can't recover, to the point where people say no matter what. And I'm not even talking about the cancel culture people. I just mean like sensibilities have changed so much over the last decade. I remember one guy was giving me feedback on my first book. And he's like, yeah, you got the N-word in there too many times. I'm like, it's set in 1970s in New Orleans. There's racial tension. There's you know, they use it themselves as often as other people do. He goes, yeah, people don't like the N-word. You're just going to lose customers straight up. People won't buy your book. People will go on Amazon and say, this book's got, I had a look, it's got 23 instances of the N-word in 300,000 words. I actually did a search for it last night in my own story. Control F, NIGGER, 23 instances. And this guy's like, no, people will not buy your book because of that. You're losing customers by doing that. Just change it to something else. Well, yeah, and what else do I change? So part of me just wants to go all in and say, this is what I write, cope. I've said before, I don't, you know, like Zac Efron, he wasn't supporting what Ted Bundy did. He wasn't saying, oh man, I played this Ted Bundy biopic, this piece, because I really like what he stood for, and I think it's important that his message gets said. No, nobody's saying he's a good thing. Is Robert Carlyle supporting what Hitler did because he played Hitler in a biographical, you know, like I'm responsible for what I write. If I create a book and it's got horrible murder and death and rape in it, well, that is on me because I chose to make that. But I don't advocate it, but people are going to see it like that anyway. You guys know what I'm saying? I kind of want edgy to be my brand because that's how my books are. It's they're my characters are door kickers. They're men of action. They're not shy. They're not wilting flowers. There's no deep introspective character progression. There's character arcs, but it's mostly a flat character arc. It's mostly they get more knowledge or they get better at what they're good at. It's not so much I've learned to be a better person. Because I'm not really interested in those sort of stories. We've already got Pixar. They do that fine. Weirdo Sabi. I need to get that white ink out of the shed so I don't have to keep using this. Oh, I don't mind those eyes though. Hey, I don't mind those eyes, boys. That's coming up all right. I need some more dark on the helmet. I must be invested in this whole practice, even if it is a bit rapey. It is a bit rapey. And, you know, I don't discount that something like, I was going to say I must be invested in this practice because I am putting so much more work into these than I was yesterday. Like you guys have got me caring more. You know, the guys who made Death Wish, I wouldn't discount them to some degree making those scenes as rapey as they were, hoping they'd be uncomfortably titillating. I did a Google image search for them last night or this morning. I literally typed in Death Wish RAPE scene to sort of jog my memory on how visceral was it? Do I remember it being as bad as it was? I haven't seen those movies in 20 years probably, you know. And they were worse than I remembered. Like they were pretty bad. So maybe my sensibilities have changed too. You guys see what I'm actually doing. Still 12 of you. I can't believe 12 of you are sitting around listening to me go on about this. So that's cool. I might do some white highlights coming back in here too. So, you know, I think there's and okay, so my point was with these still images of the scenes from Death Wish is it was on like, you know, they got like watermarks on them, and the watermarks were from like, you know, those sort of websites that Seth Rogen was talking about in that movie where it details when each Hollywood celebrity actress is naked in a movie, and it's like a database of nude scenes and stuff. Like the watermarks was from places like that. So there's people who are looking at these images for titillation. So that element's going to be there no matter what. And I wouldn't be surprised if the creators had that in mind, because that era was pretty shocking, pretty gonzo, and they just did whatever they could to get a reaction, I think. And I don't want to, I'm not that sort of guy, but I do want to make shocking content, not to offend, and not because, some people go, any reaction's a good reaction. I don't agree with that either. I think that's a cop-out. That's just a cop-out to make ugly content and say to people, well, I got a reaction out of you, haha, I win. But I do want to write hardcore, edgy stories. I do want to write these stories for whatever reason. And I'm just wondering how viable that is in this arena, in this day and age, if I'm... I'm going to put some little colors in here for his blinking lights, his little beep boop. Would you like an apple juice, would you? Yeah. Okay, I'll come and get you an apple juice. Awesome. They were holding up a mirror to society. Yeah, that's a good point, Oz. And I wouldn't be doing this. I'd be doing this retroactively. I'd be writing these stories set in the late 70s, early 80s, because I want everybody to be using like Tech Nines and Scorpions and stuff, like old school. Those sort of guns. I want to be really retro. I wouldn't be doing it to hold up to mirror to society. I'd be doing it to be gonzo, to be bombastic. I like the gonzo nature of Tarantino stuff. I like how over the top it is. I watched both Kingsman movies the other day, and in their own way, they're pretty gonzo as well. I will get you an apple juice. I'm talking to what passes for friends for me. Looks like I have to go get an apple juice in a minute. I think this one might be nearly done. Certainly spent enough time on it. The old saying, if my heart's not in it. Like my heart is in it. I really want to tell the story, and I think it's a good story, and I think it's cool, and people are going to like it. Maybe I just tone it down. Yeah. Reputations do matter. I don't want to be known as like the rapey story guy. I suppose for me, what it might be is, and I'm going to be a bit reflective here, a bit introspective here. Jason's probably there going, shut up, stop talking. You're just digging yourself deeper. I guess I've always kind of respected directors and writers who do this really raw stuff, because in a way it's kind of like Oz was saying, holding up a mirror to society. It's kind of like they got to know there's people who are upset that they're doing this. They got to know that they're offending some people, and they did it anyway, because I feel like they're serving the story. They're saying, no, the story demanded this happen. I'm not going to not do that just because it makes you uncomfortable. And people don't have to read your stuff. People can just not. It's definitely something to think about. And he's got a little light on his belt here. Well, I'm still not in love with it. Who suggested I draw Darth Vader? I should have drawn Poiter. That would have been easier. Quiet Red says, I feel you on that. I felt the same voice in the back of my head, apprehension of the sorts. You think about your parents reading it. That's there. My parents have no interest in what I'm doing, so I don't think that'll be an issue. Okay, calling that one done. I feel like it needs to be something. The mouth needs to be pulled together a bit more. Yep, it's totally done. I'm not going to go back and do more to it. That one's done. And I'll go get an apple juice, and maybe you guys can suggest the next character I could draw. Tobor says, I tend to get uncomfortable when that sort of stuff happens on screen print, whatever, but does wonders for me. Yeah, well, that's right. It motivates you. And that's part of it. I've often pointed out when, okay, you know what? As a whole, looking back at it from a distance, it's not that bad. That's not, I don't hate it. I don't love it as much as this Kozol that I drew earlier. That's much better. All right, I'm going to go get an apple juice for the kids. And maybe you guys can suggest another character for me to draw. I appreciate you. I'm not drawing Darth Maul next. Sketch of apple, shower calm, scorpion. That seems a bit easier. I love you too. Go sit down. I'll get you your juice. All right. Keep digging. Keep digging. I don't get. This is more. Rough scene near the end of Metal Gear 5 that got me ready to murder the bad guys. I haven't got all the way through that yet.
No school today.
No school today, sweetheart. They hate school. No interest in other people's comfort. You can't live like that. You definitely can't make art like that. Yeah, I do feel that. I do feel like I don't want to censor myself because of people who probably won't read it in the first place. But I don't want to be known as the rapey guy. I mean, is James Elroy known as the N-word guy? Is he known as the racist guy? Is he known like LA Confidential is pretty brutal way they depicted the interaction between the black criminals and the white cops. I think it's probably fairly true to life. They might make. Did anybody turn that movie off? Dilla's nailed it. Be right back, boys. Now we got had to send Mrs. down to the shop to get more apple juice this morning. ran out of milk, ran out of bread, ran out of apple juice. Between the masks and the lockdowns and all that sort of business, I really don't like all that. So she was heading to work, and I got her to pop by and pick up some groceries beforehand. All right, looks like I'm gonna give Poiter a go. I don't like these real life ones, but I do feel like they push me. Oh, it's hard to get it. I might not be able to do it because there's no high res pictures of them. Everything is like 240p because it's back on the day of CRT televisions. Oh, of course, and the and the TV show was called Full Frontal. That was the name of the show. So I put in Peter Full Frontal, and there's just like hundreds of naked dudes called Peter. I did not think this through at all. I could have done without saying this. I really feel like I've had my penis quotas for life. Oh, that might. Remember he used to do Ray Martin as well. He used to do a really good Ray Martin impersonation. The big hair that grew every episode. Fantastic. All right, I found a picture. Let's see if we can get a good likeness of Poiter happening. You're going to be in real trouble when we run out of male characters. You're not wrong. Yeah. I was just saying yesterday, being in art school, Solomon Kane, that'd be a good one. I'll definitely give that a go. That's a good point, Jason. That's something I've tried to do with the company, man, is try to be honest about sort of, what you're getting with it. And I often say when I'm spruiking the book, it's like it's geopolitical and stuff. It's Black Hawk Down. Black Hawk Down's pretty brutal. You got dudes getting their arms ripped off and lengths of rebar teleported through the bad guy's head, sticking out both ends. Like it's no worse than a Spawn comic from the 90s, really, but it's probably people be triggered by that. Yeah. Sage advice. That's probably the best thing for it, though, is just to say, hey, look, here's this series about a female professional assassin and her career and how she gets that way. Look, it's pretty full on. It's pretty brutal. And I was on Pops Van Sant's show the other day. Yesterday it was, actually. And somebody in the chat there said, you should be able to pitch your book without referencing other material. I'm like, I don't know. Because it's a good shorthand. And if you can, if I can say, oh, look, it's like Death Wish. It's like Death Wish and LA Confidential and stuff like that. Like, it's got that sort of level of brutality to it. That if that's a problem for you, like, stay out. I'm not saying don't buy my book. I'm just saying protect yourself. I talked, I think, on the first episode about the idea of protecting your peace. You gotta have your peace, and you got to protect it, and you got to make sure other things don't encroach on it, because it's yours. And if you don't have peace, what do you have? If you're upset, if you're so just say, this is the sort of book you're getting. And like Jason says, the people who want you to change, they're not interested in my comfort. They don't call me up and say, hey, Lee, I'm making this book. Would you be okay if I made Tim Drake gay? Would that bother you? Would that make you uncomfortable? I wouldn't be happy about it, that's for sure. Oh, okay, I won't do it. So that's a really good. Because, like I said, I respect Elroy and these guys for doing this brutal sort of storytelling, because they didn't compromise. And with the Company Man and with the Saint Denis mysteries and all the stuff that I write, it is all pretty violent. It's pretty blaxploitation gonzo, like he gets the hell beat out of him, but he's all right by the end of the book. There was one scene in the novel where someone gets essentially eviscerated, and the feedback I got was same sort of thing, like, that's too, just have them killed, have them stabbed and killed, don't need to be torn apart by meat hooks. I'm like, that's where the story went. So I really just want to write all the hardcore messed up stuff I want to do. But, these days you just make one misstep. You do one thing and you get labeled as that. And it doesn't matter what you put it. Like, look at anybody that we could talk about. Anything that you put out in the future, like, oh, yeah, this might be good and all, but one time you said this thing and that thing. There you go. So like I was just saying, that verbal shorthand, that ability to say, hey, this book is inspired by it's like that. I haven't heard a lot of people talk much about Body of Lies as a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio and Russell Crowe in it, but there's a lot of that. Like, that's probably the biggest influence on the company, man, more so than Suicide Squad, more so than Black Hawk Down. So if you saw that movie, if you like that movie, you like the sort of dodgy back alley dealings and wheeling and dealing and that sort of stuff, the idea that the grunts on the ground are getting the short straw and the bosses up top don't know what's going on, you're being honest, then you're saying, well, look, it's like this. So if you like this, like that. Well, I think Raiden Radio, I think that's what he was trying to say. He's trying to say you should be able to describe your book without it. And I can, but I only had a... What's the matter? What? Pin now?
No, paint now.
You want to paint?
Paint now.
You can't paint unsupervised. I'll have to watch you do it. When I'm finished talking to these guys, I'll come and set you up with some paints. She's 3. Like, I'm going to let her paint on her own. Can't even imagine the disaster I'd walk out to after that. Doesn't look anything like Poeta. His face is way too long. Looks more like Bancroft. You only got a half hour on these shill shows, so you want to get your point across as quick as possible. If somebody goes, oh, it's like Suicide Squad. I like Suicide Squad. I'll give it a look. Funny that people in the chat were blowing, oh, this looks so good. This is one of the better looking indie books I've seen. It's really professional. Didn't get not a single sale. Nobody bought one, which is no one's fault. I just feel like maybe my book's hit its limit right now until it can come out, be proven, until people can review it and say, hey, I enjoyed it or didn't. Until it's a proven entity, I don't really think I'm going to be shifting a whole lot more. I think I've sort of hit the limit of my clout, my reach, my influence. I don't think it's going to be changing anytime soon. Lost a bunch of people when I went to go get juice. So thanks to everybody that stuck around. Maybe they just didn't want to see me draw Poeta. I haven't seen Dean in a while. Here I am drawing Poeta and he's probably swiping right on Tinder somewhere. That boy seems to play up an awful lot. I've said before, I think in my review of Khaleesi's book, which disappointed the next one of those isn't out yet. That did numbers for me, that review. I said in that review, I said, I'm glad I'm not single. I'm glad I don't have to do the dating game these days. It looks like an absolute shit show. Porter. It's pretty sweet. You guys don't know Porter. He's a archetypical Aussie bogan. This is who Bancroft tries to pretend to be. Jump on YouTube and look up Porter, Poitel or A-A-A-H, Porter. Maybe they did go get juice. That's true. It's easy to insert a certain image in someone's mind when you reference something they already know. And this is exactly what I was trying to do, quite red, just trying to get people to go, oh yeah, Suicide Squad, Homeland, if you've seen the Homeland show with Claire Danes and that ginger fella. The first season of that was an incredible TV experience. I didn't watch any more after that, but the first one was just mind blown. The only time I've ever literally been on the edge of my seat. They say like edge of the seat television viewing, where I was literally on the edge of my seat going, well, what's going to happen next? There's only 2 things that can happen, and both of them are terrifying and terrible, and it's got to mean the end of the series and the death of the character, if not physical death, then his moral death or his professional death or his spiritual death. Like there's elements here that you just can't avoid. And then somehow, like Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver, the coin landed on its edge for the first time ever, and I'm like, I did not, and I wasn't even cross. I wasn't even cross that because it wasn't a cop out. It was You know, you believed, you're like, actually, I can believe that would happen. That's true life. But I never considered that. It's very rare for a piece of media to surprise me these days. I spend so much time looking at stuff, reading stuff, watching, you know, pretty much I can guess probably 8 to 9 out of 10 things on any movie. Like I'll just sit there and say, this is going to happen next, and it does. My wife's just like, just don't talk. And that's not a bad thing. Like expectations are, yeah, meeting those expectations certainly better than subverting them. Maybe I should do more videos about things people know. Jason's got some fantastic advice when it comes to growing your audience and the sort of videos. He taught me everything I know about SEO. I'm like a SEO ninja now. You won't find a single one of my YouTube videos that doesn't have at least 95 SEO. But it's like the Tim Drake thing. Like I've found that being Australian, I sort of have an advantage over a lot of the American outrage producers because I get it beforehand. They're all asleep, and I'm making a video about Khaleesi's book. Like I specifically went all day and all night to get that one made because I wanted to get out before Zach did, and then Zach didn't even do a bloody review of it, the bastard. What is SEO, Jason? Search. I believe it's how high up or how commonly your media, your product turns up when being searched by search engine optimization. It's getting your product to be as optimized as possible so that when somebody searches for something, your product comes up over someone else. So, for example, Commie Mark makes videos about communist comic book characters. Why would his video turn up over top of that What Culture guys who always seems to be in my feed, who's in the videos I never watch? It's like, what up, guys? Welcome to What Culture. You know, it's like, you never read comics. You don't know what you're talking about. You got all your shit off Wikipedia. Why would his videos turn up over them doing a video about communist characters? It's because if he has good SEO, the search engine favors his video over theirs. So with all my videos, thanks to Jason, they're all, sort of 95 or 100 SEO. Because he's shown me how to use all the right phrases and terms and link them up so that your video is the one that's favored, which I appreciate. And he's spot on about a lot of this sort of stuff. Very, very much worth listening to. He's a guru. He downplays it, but it's true. And he's true that he's right. I should do this video about Khaleesi, and I've got that advantage being Australian because I see this stuff before a lot of the Americans. You guys are asleep, and we're getting these outrage news articles from Bleeding Fall and stuff. So the Tim Drake thing, I don't really have anything to like. That's just an example because that's a big thing right now, and everyone's going to do a video. Umbrella Guy will do a video. Yellow Flash will do a video. If they haven't already, Zach will do a video. He'll probably do one reviewing the comic itself and then talking about the issue. I still find a lot of Zach's takes to be absolutely spot on. Like he's really, I think he's really keen and he's really got his finger on a pulse in a lot of ways. He'll have these he's like a broad thinker. Like he comes across like this crazy boomer, but he's got this really broad perspective where he thinks through the topic and he sees it from like a top-down perspective. And I don't know if that's the military mind or if that's just who he is. But I often find myself agreeing with a lot of his takes on stuff. So he might do a video on it too. And everyone's going to be doing this video on Tim Drake. I don't have anything to say on it. Now, Jason might say, well, nut up or shut up. Like, just make it anyway. And there's certainly a logic to that as well. He's not wrong. Like, do you think that Umbrella Guy wants to make another Johnny Depp video? Maybe he just likes the 40,000 views he gets on each one. Like that's motivating. Like I believe that he feels strongly about it, and it seems like he's contributed some good work towards the truth getting out. And I'm all about, I was going to say I'm all about the truth getting out to an extent. Like I said, nobody needs to know what puts the starch in my noodle. That should be private. But the stuff like that where people have been wronged and people have done the wrong thing, yeah, definitely get that out there. Poor Johnny. Justice for Johnny. And I did that video on the heavy metal thing because that's, I was involved in that a little bit. Like I made a comment and they sort of clapped back at me. I'm like, cool, I can make a video out of this. I didn't go looking for it though. And same thing, I managed to get in and do a video about it before just about anybody else, because I'm like, oh, well, it's early here. I can get this video done by lunchtime. And you guys are only just getting home from work, sort of thing. It's going to black that whole shirt. Yeah, that's not cool, Raiden Radio. He definitely should have given you credit for that. And I would, if I ever did anything like that, I certainly hope somebody would hit me up and say, hey, Lee, cool video about my comment, but you didn't actually credit me. I'm like, oh, my bad, bro. I'll go back and definitely make a big deal about that. Like, you guys know I'm all about that positive talk. Excuse me. Talking about my boy Firewatcher, talking about how much I'm looking forward to doing this project with Dean and future projects if he stays available, but I'll have to get on it because he's going to get snapped up. Talking about how Jason's a guru. Like, I love you guys. I got a lot of good things to say about you good dudes. Certainly wouldn't be doing that on purpose. So, and in this age, it's a clout game. It's about getting your name up and getting recognition and stuff for somebody to just completely go, oh, you guys can't even see what I'm drawing. Sorry, it's right off the camera. You guys got to warn me when I do that. Now you can watch me color this shirt in for the next 2 minutes. So I've got to stop talking because colouring shirts is serious business. Did people care about Johnny Depp before Tug, or did he get 45,000 people invested? Yeah, I think there's elements of both there. Like his sort of reporting, I guess you'd call it, really, brought some of the injustices to light, maybe just to us, maybe in our little circle. I mean, if I know nothing about Amber Heard, all I know about Johnny Depp is he works with Tim Burton a lot. And he seems to have a lot of tattoos that you never see in the movie, so I don't know if they have to airbrush them out or whatever. And if somebody said, oh, yeah, you hear Johnny Depp got drunk, high, and beat the shit out of his wife, I'd be like, I'd probably believe that. Like, he seems like a chill dude, but it's Hollywood. Like, any weird... Oh, I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole with you guys right now, but, you don't even know. You don't even know. Bashing your missus is like the least over-the-top thing that Hollywood does. So if somebody had said that to me, I would have just believed it. So, Tug's there getting people. So Jason says he doesn't believe there's a subculture of Depp followers on YouTube. And, you'd be right. I'd say people are more interested in justice being served because it's another example of the matriarchy and men getting a raw deal. And poor Brendan Fraser having to pay all that alimony to his missus. And she's a makeup artist in Hollywood. It's not like she's $1 million a year, $1 million a month. Must have been a year. Surely it can't be $1 million a month. He doesn't make that much, surely. How come more Hollywood people, say Brendan Fraser, and you make The Mummy, and you make The Mummy 3 because by then he was a bigger name, and you get paid $2, $3, $4, $5, $10 million for a movie. Yeah, and I believe all that, Dean. I believe that no problem at all because it's Hollywood. And they are evil. Why doesn't somebody like Brendan Fraser, one of these guys who get this money, why don't they take it to an investment banker and say, right, here's $10 million, turn it into 20? There's people who old money, and that old money is invested, and then the old money makes more money. There's people who do that. Oh, I can't guarantee. You can. You got $10 million and you invest that. There's safe stocks that you can invest that in that will pay dividends. Why does any Hollywood celebrity ever go bankrupt? Why do they ever end up on Skid Row? Why don't they all have amazing stock portfolios? I don't know. I just figure because money makes money. If you've got enough money, that money should be making you money. You shouldn't just be sitting in your bank account. You shouldn't be buying, I don't know. This old mate, one of the rappers there, and he's got his own gold and diamond mines in Africa. So all of his own jewelry is made with gold and diamonds coming from his own diamond mine in Africa. Like that's excessive. It's somebody like Jay-Z or someone. Oh, yes, Brendan Fraser as Star-Lord would have been great. There you go. Depp is mates with Roman Polanski. There you go. 7 degrees of something. I say it's Poiter. I think, Dean, I think it's recognisable as Poiter, even though it's not a particularly good likeness. I did manage to get the darkness of Banner's eyes. He's got very dark eyes. It's actually kind of funny how much he does look like Bancroft, actually, as Poiter with the stubble and everything, because Bancroft's got like this constant 5 o'clock shadow. Some people will be like, who the hell is this guy? What sort of sketch card am I getting from this guy? Who is this guy? Send me some guy with a mullet. Thanks for backing the company, man. I apologize for the sketch card. Number 23. Poiter, mate. Pretty sweet. Everything's pretty sweet, pretty sick. And Poiter, he's a good dude. A lot of fun. 3 cards today, so I'm running behind because I know more detailed pictures. I'm going a lot slower. I thought buying the diamond mine. See you, Raiden Radio. Thanks for coming out by, mate. I appreciate that. A lot of investment bankers take a big cut of the money and scam folk. Yep, I believe that. You see it happen with Elvis. You know, he got scammed and had to start all over again. This is how I feel about people who are good on camera, good at talking lots of opinions. What's stopping you from doing tugs numbers? I don't know, Jason, and that's something I'd really like to do a bit of a deep dive into. And is it consistency? Me just being more available, me turning up and being seen on screen. I'm not a bad looking guy. I'm not worried about being on screen. And the industry I was cancelled from isn't one where you have, like name recognition. No one's going to see me online and go, that's Lee used to work in the such and such industry and he got his ass kicked out of there. Like, I'm not worried about that. Why's my camera gone all shaky? Focus. Come on. Son of a bitch. So, Tug puts out a video every day, I think. I haven't watched one of his videos in forever. His sort of investigative journalism type thing. Like, I want Johnny to win over Amber because clearly he's the good guy in that situation, but it's all Hollywood. I don't care. I don't care about them. They're not. I was going to say they're not putting money in my bank account, but they're putting money in Tug's bank account. Oh, I'm sorry about this camera, guys. I don't know what's going on. I can't draw for you like this if it's going to be all messed up. Come on, focus. I can see you trying to focus, you son of a bitch. And Tug does topical stuff, and he talks about things that are happening right now and things that people, like you said, people care about and are more familiar with. Vertical integration. All right, Bane's it should be an easy one. I might not even need a picture for that one. A reference, I mean. This is frustrating. You can't do a Drawstream with an unfocused camera. This will get using your phone as a camera. That's how we draw in Australia. Well, that's what the heavy metal video was, Jason, and I did one about Zach's lawsuit as well. When he dropped the lawsuit, I did a 10-minute video talking about my thoughts on that, and they both did pretty good numbers for me. So it's about isolating those topical. So I think it's going to come back down to what the point I made earlier. You just have to do the videos constantly. I don't want to do a video about Tim Drake. I don't care. I've checked out of that. And I was sort of calling people out on that a bit yesterday or the day before when I did one of these. I said, there's these big name people who are rubbing their hands with glee when they see the shit show that is Kevin Smith's He-Man adaptation, because they know they're going to be making 20 videos off it with 50,000 views each. Like that's buying them a PlayStation 5 or whatever. Like they're making money off that. And if you said to them, hey, I could wave a magic wand for you and Kevin Smith's He-Man would be amazing. It'd be exactly what you wanted. No outrage, none of this BS. It's just exactly the show you've always wanted as a kid, remade in modern times. I don't think those guys would say yes. I don't think they'd take that. They'd be like, no, keep the cringe, keep the outrage, because this is my bread and butter. This is where I make my money. And that's okay, because they're making hay while the sun shines. I feel a bit hypocritical if I turn around and do the same thing for views. I plugged the phone into the PC, so it should be keeping level. So I'm not discounting your advice. Is that focused? Oh, it's focused. Fantastic. I'm not discounting your advice, Jason. I'm just trying to see how I can do that. I've tried to record live videos before. Not for me. I just can't do it. I need to script my stuff. Like I can ramble like this all day, but it's a very controlled environment, and I don't really have an objective aside from just to avoid the dead air and keep you guys sticking around. As long as you don't go to Hockey Street. No, I'm just kidding. I love hockey. It's a great dude. Coming with some grey shades again. Keep it nice and loose. I don't like how they... I was watching one of those Arkham Asylum, Suicide Squad, one of the Suicide Squad movies, cartoons the other day. It might have been this Arkham Asylum one. And and at the end of it, a bunch of the inmates get out. And Snake Eyes is a good choice. Yeah, I'd like to draw Snake Eyes. And Bane, for whatever reason, he's just sitting there in full costume with his plugs and Venom all plugged in. Like, why wouldn't you take all that shit off him? But anyway, he gets out, hits the Venom, and he just hulks up. Like, he triples in size, picks up a car and throws it all the way across the yard. It blows up. And it's like, Bane can't do that. Bane would never... There's no universe where Bane does that. You guys are just making him into Hulk light, So I don't like how they've done that. Oz got a good point. He-Man would have hurt if it was 5 years ago. It would have. Like when I hear this stuff, I'm not even surprised anymore. And I got to the point where I don't really care. So if I did videos, it would just be to to play the tug game, the yellow flash game, where they make their videos about the outrage and stuff. And it works. It's not that different to what Zach does. They have video. They have their hot takes. They have their idea. This is what's happening. This is how I feel about it and why. And there's an element of let's all hate together, like community hate, banding together to dislike the same thing together and all be outraged together. It works. It's smart. It's not a bad idea. Sort of compromise there, Jason. Have some bullet points and then also sort of wing it, but at least be like Just Some Guy is clearly scripted. And so, so is mine. Like there'll be times I did one the other day and I'm like acted surprised when something come up, but I scripted that in because I'd read the book, so I couldn't be surprised. And then there's another one I was doing with there's Amelia Clark's book, and I couldn't remember Carl Drago. What's his name? Jason Momoa. I couldn't remember his name. So I just wrote like Aquaman guy or Carl Drago in the script as I was reading it out and recording it. And I still couldn't remember the guy's name, and I couldn't be bothered looking it up because it didn't matter. And it's funnier if I don't remember because I play into the boomer meme a little bit. And then as I was recording it, I did remember his name, like, Jason Momoa, that's him, that's the guy. And that was legitimate surprise, but very often, my stuff's all scripted, so it is very much like that. Yeah, I'm a bit the same way, Oz. Like, I don't have any time left for the hate. I mean, I could do a Jason, not Jason Todd, I could do a Tim Drake video. Have I been calling him Jason Todd this whole time? And say why it's wrong. And I could list the fact that he had this whirlwind romance with Jubilee and with Spoiler and with a bunch of other. But I'd have to look a lot of that up because I haven't bought a DC comic or a Marvel comic in over 10 years. Be right back. doesn't need to be drama or hate. What matters is that people know it or looking for. Rage is just it's almost like cheating to jump on and do the anger outrage thing. And you do kind of look like a bit of a spurg too when you do it. Like you see the SJWs like, oh, look at these guys spurging it over He-Man. It's just a kid's cartoon. They're wrong, but they're also kind of right. Like He-Man, it did bug me. It didn't break my heart like it would have, like I was saying 5 years ago. I'm so used to this stuff now. I expect the worst, and I'm a pessimist by nature. I fight it and try to be optimistic, but I'm very much, what's the worst case scenario here? Okay, I will prepare for that, and if it doesn't happen, I'm pleasantly surprised. And I'm happy to receive the good, but I will just sort of go, okay, well, I'm going to assume things will. I don't assume the worst of people. What's that one where you don't apply maliciousness or don't apply malice when stupidity, ignorance, or incompetence will do. Like if somebody messes up, I just assume they just made a mistake, man. Like I mess up. Sometimes people DM me and I see the DM like, I just can't deal with that right now. I don't even know what they want. I just can't deal with it right now. I'll look at it tomorrow. Maybe they needed something right away and I wasn't able to do that. That's messing up, but it's also very human. And sometimes I don't see it. I get a surprising amount of DMs for someone who's not that. I mean, I tweet a lot, but I'm not involved in a lot of the whisper networks. I mean, I don't talk a lot. I don't have a lot to say anymore about a lot of this stuff. Bane must have a belt. I want to give him like a big wrestling luchador belt. But I won't. And of course it's Comics Bane, not Tom Hardy Bane. I feel by the time that Picard season 2 sucks, I might begin unsubscribing to anyone jumping on that train. You knew it was going to suck. You watched but that's where I'm at, man. That's where I'm at. I think that's what Oz is saying as well. Like a lot of these people are watching it just to complain about it. I watched Thunder Force with I think her name's Melissa McCarthy. She's one of the female Ghostbusters, and it's like these two body positive women who accidentally gain superpowers, and that goofy guy that's in everything, whose name you know him if I showed you a picture of him. He's like this lobster guy. It felt like a comic adaptation, but there's no comic for it, and it was just this weird, like these two middle-aged women completely out of shape get superpowers and try to save the city, because the idea was that superpowers only attach to people who have something wrong in their head, that they don't function properly. They're sociopathic, they're psychopathic, they're criminals. Only bad people essentially get power. So one of them was able to create a process that allowed power to be transferred to somebody who was sane. And she picked herself to be the recipient. And then the Melissa McCarthy character wanders into the lab and accidentally gets the super strength powers, and then she's only got the invisibility powers, so she's going to give herself super strength and invincibility, and so they're stuck with each other, sort of things, like a odd couple but racial if they're both overweight women. Anyway, I watched that because I didn't expect it to be any good, and I was going to do like a cringe video on it, but it wasn't even cringe. It was actually pretty funny in some places, and I'm a big sucker for all the I mean, like some of the lobster guy stuff was kind of funny. Some was a bit gross. She's like slathering butter on him and stuff. But even that makes me laugh, like that's so cheesy sort of way. And so I just ended up doing a video on it because what was the point? I didn't have anything to say except it was mediocre. It wasn't worth, I can't get that 2 hours back. I could have done a video ripping it apart. Oh, it's the worst thing ever. Ghostbusters 2016. I don't like that cable much. So I think Jason's got a good point there, sort of informative, factual. Doesn't have to be, I'm angry about it. It just has to be, son, I'm disappointed. Disappointed, Kevin Smith. I mean, everybody's doing the Kevin Smith video. I might have got hundreds of views out of one, but did I want to, I think that, cable just ruined the whole picture. Don't know what I was thinking. It's easier to do this than to start all over again. It's not what I bought the pen for. All right. We'll come back to Bane. What was one somebody said a minute ago? Solomon Kane. I think I want to do like a really painterly, really rough silhouette type one of Solomon Kane. Surprising how many iconic images of him don't have him with his iconic hat on. I liked the James Purefoy movie of Solomon Kane, but it was also really forgettable. Like, I couldn't tell you much of anything about it at all, except, you know, he's a bad dude, and then he renounced violence, went to live in a monastery, and I'm like, this whole movie is just a countdown until he unrenounces violence and kills a bunch of people. Like, it had to happen. There's no way around it. I've got this story series I've written where it's essentially a guy getting out of prison, superpowered guy getting out of superpowered prison, and they're like, righto, go forth and don't be a criminal anymore. But his only friends that he's got, and the only people he knows are involved with are other criminals and ex-criminals and stuff like that, so he doesn't have a lot of options. And, you know, the thing is, if he doesn't turn bad again, if he doesn't use his powers in some way, there's no story. But the story is over once he does do that. Once he crosses that line, you don't just use your powers one day and then go, okay, now I'm not going to use them again. I'm totally back on the straight and narrow, guys. I'm totally doing the right thing. Until next time, and then the time after that. So it's this, a bit like those shows with the romances in it. You know, they say it was better before the two characters got together. Once the characters get together, it's kind of over. There's only so much you can do with it. I think they handled that well in the Mentalist. They got them together, had one more season with them getting together, and once they were together, they got married, and that was it. Like, it was just done. It's like the second last episode they got together, last episode they got married, caught the killer, happily ever after. It is a very upbeat way to end the show. But the reveal of who Red John was a complete cop out. Absolute. I believe they were planning on it being Simon Baker's character, and then he was too liked, too lovable, and people said if you know, evidence is pointing that he is chasing himself as the killer, aside from that being a bit played out, if you guys do that, we are going to rage, we are going to riot. So they changed their mind and just found some rando from episode 2 and had it. So he was Red John the whole time, guys. It's all good. So there's no evidence, there's nothing that supports that. That's Jason saying there'll be some wisdom. When I say do what they do, rage videos are an option, but what I mean is do daily videos that people will be looking for things. Yeah, and when I did do that for a very short period of time, I did like 2 or 3 videos in a row that were topical, that were relevant, that were about stuff that was happening, and I got more views then than I ever had before. If you commit to that, I don't think you can help but grow. I've already got a little audience, 360 people. That's 360 people that are going to see it. And you put it on Twitter. I've got like 2,000 followers on Twitter, so that's more people that are going to see it. And they're like, oh yeah, that's topical, that's happening. I want to hear what this guy has to say about this, especially if you've got a hook. If it's, you know, this thing isn't as bad as you think, here's why. Or I did that one video with Wonder Woman. I really liked Wonder Woman 84. I went in there expecting it to be garbage. It wasn't. I was feeling a bit low. It was just some upbeat happiness. It had a, what's his name? Life is good, but it can be better. He saved his kidney. Like, it worked out. I couldn't help but like it. So I did a video on that, and then YouTube wouldn't let me put it up there because it had footage and stills from Wonder Woman in it. Wonder Woman was still in the cinema, so he got banned off of YouTube. I put it up on BitChute, and nobody's watched it over there. So if you've got a hook like that, I think that's definitely something you could build off. No nice way of saying that, but if an indie book only had a few hundred backers, guilty as charged. How many views is a review of it going to get? Good point. Very often less, and the ones that do get the most reviews are the outrage ones like Khaleesi's book and stuff like that, where people want to go because they want to see how bad it is, and they want to see how's this guy going to take it down, how's he going to rip it apart. Classic comics people know and love, want to hear about again. Yeah. I don't know. I think Zach says those videos of his don't tend to do so well. I think it's a bit like the whole Tim Drake thing. It's like I could, and this comes back to, again, how bad do you want it? Is it hard work doing a video of something that you're not that invested in? If so, are you willing to do the hard work? I don't have anything to say about Tim Drake. I don't really care. He's not my Robin. Like, I grew up with him, but I still prefer Dick. So, and you know, they've been talking about it for years. They saw it coming. I'll be more upset when they do it to Spider-Man. Because I've been talking about that for quite a while, and I wouldn't be surprised if they get there eventually, some version of him, if they haven't already. Because they've made him so effeminate and so effete. It's awful. Makes me cross. So if I do a Tim Drake video, that's me investing in this. Okay, that's a good point. People don't go to Zach's channel looking for reviews of classic comics. They go there looking for what he brings. So Jason's saying if I was to do reviews of classic comics, that could be a bigger thing for me, because that's not what they want from him. And and I don't think I've ever watched any of his comics before SJW Marvel videos. Exactly like Jason's saying, I don't really care what Zach has to say about the execution agenda. I don't know. I don't know if anybody cares what I have to say about old comics. And I don't know if I have anything to say about old comics. I wanted to do like a retrospective on Savage Dragon up to the point where I dipped out, because I collected that for more than 20 years. I got every tie-in, every mini-series, every spin-off. It's probably the deepest lore book out there. Like, people don't even know that it's, because a lot of people, that's been said, I think Zach might have even said this, a lot of people think Savage Dragon, they still think, oh yeah, that character is a cop. He was a cop for the first 25, 30 issues. You know, he hasn't been a cop for a long, long time. So it shows how little people know about what went on after the fact. So I sort of wanted to do this is why it's really good, and that's why it's such a disappointment that Larson went full woke and turned it into this bizarre Penny Dreadful porno type book that I just am still reeling about. That I don't even know. Like, where his numbers just so low that he decided, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to have like underage Asian incest porn in my book, and if people don't like it, it doesn't matter because nobody buys it anyway. You guys think I'm exaggerating, but I'm not. Okay, you see stepsister, but it's still pretty weird. Yeah, I saw that. I wasn't drawing apple juice. I was getting apple juice for the kids. It's definitely Solomon Kane. There's a big flex, wasn't it? Cyclops is like, you know, hey, prof, your legs don't even work. Here I am banging the gorgeous clone of my dead girlfriend. What? That's some chat energy. And, you know, he's like, Professor X is like a father to him. So it's like dunking on his father. It's like, hey, dad. You know, he has a dad. Of course he is his dad. What a terrible father. Nope. What do you need?
I can't build my house.
That sounds like a you problem.
Because my other house is full of water and dogs.
Pen. Spider-Man already got cut for Captain Marvel on Ms. Marvel when he's Marvel's biggest star. Yeah, and I hear that all the time. People saying nothing matters anymore. Like, and I've talked about this in a book called The SJW Marvel Menace. And part of it was talking about how, like, I think Bendis was really the big instigator of this. He come in, it's this hot ticket, and he just said, look, I don't care about continuity. I'm going to do what I want to do. And like, comics is nothing but continuity, which is why, excuse me, while character swaps, gender swaps, race swaps, that's why it bothers fans so much, because it's all about the continuity. We pride ourselves on knowing the stories. Oh, he's not a true fan. He didn't read such and such. He doesn't know this aspect of it. He said his normies come out and they say something about a character. You're like, what? No, that's not. They did this. We have to correct them because we were there. We read it whether real time. We read it after the fact years later, and we've internalized it and we know it all. But the fake fans, they don't know this stuff, or new fans don't, and they make an assumption. You're like, you need to go check out this storyline because that, it puts that to bed. That proves it's wrong. And Bendis just come along, and there's a whole article about it. He said, I'm a non-continuity storyteller because I don't care about continuity. I don't care what happened before. I'll write the story how I want. And both Marvel and DC, there was talk of informally moving forward with that, the idea that the continuity doesn't really matter. And how many times have they rebooted DC that's made that true? I mean, I got all those old Superman and Man of Steel from back in the 90s when he come back after being killed. He had the long hair, but he hadn't gone electric yet. Those stories don't matter. They were very much just sort of, not an insult to the guys who wrote them, but they were very much just filler. It didn't do anything to... They were written the way that the old Superman stories were. It was to entertain the kids. It wasn't any big character progression. Reading those stories doesn't change who Superman is as a character, so they're just filler. Years and years of filler. And they're like $3 an issue, $2.50 an issue, and you just... The 4 of them a month, and they're all link in, and you just buy them all and read them all and put them in your plastic sleeves and forget about them. Probably never read them again. Do those stories, they don't matter, sure, but did they happen? Are they part of continuity? Did Grant Morrison's low-powered Superman who grew up, like when they did New 52, it's such a mess. They've had to merge him with Burns' Man of Steel Superman, who's got kids, and John Kent and all that sort of stuff. Like, it's such a mess. The continuity is such a mess. And we do the best we can to keep on top of it, and they keep pulling the rug out from under us. And then Bendis comes along and says, I just don't care. If we don't have continuity, there's no point for comics. If Spider-Man's personality is... Spider-Man's personality is so interchangeable from issue to issue, who am I reading? If it's just a guy in a suit, if it can be anyone, if it can be Miles Morales, if he can be gay, if Peter can be gay or buy one issue and straight the next... If that doesn't matter, I'm not invested. It's not a character. It's a suit and powers, and then it doesn't matter. He's no better than even the Power Rangers, who are fairly interchangeable from season to season, from ninja version to dinosaur version to galactic. I don't know Power Rangers. I know there's different types. Yeah, but each Red Ranger, he might be a leader, but I'm sure he's got his own personality, and some of them are more impulsive, some of them are better, and you could point to them and say, Red Ranger Galactic has these attributes. If you take these attributes away from the characters, they don't matter anymore. So what are you reading for? Nobody could tell you what Jack Reacher looks like. He's 6'5", you don't know his hair color. He's fit, and he's a big dude, but that's all you know. You just know that he's 6'5" specifically. He's built like a brick shit house. You don't know how long his hair is. You don't know what color it is. You know what color his eyes are. Nobody knows what he looks like. Thanks, Sick. Thanks for being here to keep me accountable. But people love his personality and his character, and they could tell you. You could put up a fictional situation, say, how do you think Jack Reacher would react in this situation? And his fans would be able to tell you, and they'd be right. And you go to Lee Child and you'd say, hey, do you reckon Jack Reacher would act like X, Y, Z in this situation, like the fans said? He'd be like, hell yes, they know my character. That's exactly. He even said there's some old lady in the Netherlands or something who knows the Jack Reacher lore better than him. He calls her up and says, hey, Mavis, where would Reacher have been in 1984? Because she's got the timeline in her head and she loves the character and she knows it all. So he's saying, look, I'm doing this 84 story in the 80s. Would it be okay to have Reacher in Japan in 1984? And she's like, no, he was, here. So, okay, so what about 85? 85 would work. You could put him in Japan in 85. Brilliant. And he writes the story. Like, that's cool. That's cool. So these people, you don't know what Reacher looks like, but you know his personality. I know what Spider-Man looks like. His personality is fluid. It changes however Bendis needs it to change. They've turned into an absolute buffoon. You read the stuff in the 90s when Bagley was drawing it, and he had Web of Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, and just plain Spider-Man as the titles. And, Peter was this responsible grown adult. Okay. Is responsible grown adult with a wife, with a kid on the way. He's dying of this virus, and he's trying to take it super seriously and make sure everybody was taken care of when he was going to be gone, because he didn't think he could beat it. And then Dr. Octopus turns up, knocks his ass out, and then cures him of this virus that the owl gave him. And Peter says, "Why'd you do it?" He said, "Because you made me a better man. I was a better me for having fought against you. So I'm going to do everything I can to say." And Dr. Octopus actually died. Kane found him and killed him for it. And they brought him back because nothing matters. So, Peter had such a distinct personality. You could say this is how Peter Parker in the 90s, or the 70s, the 80s would have acted, because he was who he was. Now, he's just this interchangeable buffoon. I see him on those like Marvel cartoon adventures. The kids will be on, watch something on YouTube, and I put it on, there'll be like an ad, and it's like a public service announcement about don't lie to people. And it's Black Panther and Spider-Man and these big Mego head bodies running around having these inane adventures. And I'm like, that's not Spider-Man. That's an 8-year-old kid in Spider-Man's outfit with his powers. That's not a man. That's not a character. He has no attributes. He's just this blank slate. And that might fit their lifestyle brand agenda, but it's driven all the fans away. And that's why we don't care anymore. We don't care because it's so interchangeable. It changes on a dime, and it seems to change specifically just to outrage us. They don't care about the canon. Why should you? Exactly right. We can't invest in it anymore. I mean, I told you guys the other day, as a kid, I wanted to be an astronaut to go to Eternia because I thought He-Man was real. I mean, there's so many ways that doesn't make any sense. Even as like a 4-year-old, I should have been able to work that out. But that's where my head was at, because I loved He-Man that much. And it was all about doing the right thing and being a hero and being more honorable. Like He-Man. No, you can't chill outside. I've got to watch you when you do that. They got this thing, we've got some chairs out the front. They got this thing where they want to chill outside. They come and ask me, "Can I go chill outside?" No, you can't. You're 4. I'm just going to get us something to watch and I'll be back. They definitely have an agenda. It's all agenda driven. Thanks for coming back, Crazy Mad. I saw an article the other day, it might have even been yesterday or the day before, and it said that Marvel's future plans is to publish more idpol stuff. We want to publish more feminism and all that sort of stuff, all the idpol type stuff. That's their big plan right now, is to make that a focus. I mean, they just keep digging the hole deeper and deeper. I say this all the time in the Comics Mate streams, like, what's their end game? They obviously don't want to make any money. This can't be making the money unless the Scholastic money and the library money is so good. So your kids draw some cards. Little fella, he's not a bad little drawer already. I do believe a big part of your ability to draw is genetic. Like I said the other day, my grandmother's quite a talented artist. My father is a really good drawer, and he taught me a lot of stuff about the proportions of the human body and where everything sits when you're drawing a human standing, resting sort of thing. The arms fall to this side, and there's stuff like there should be one eyeball space between your eyes, and your ears. Top of your ear lines up with the eyebrow, and the bottom of your ear lines up with your nose or with the top lip. Stuff like that to keep in mind. That was handy. So I see that my boy could pick up some of that. I think actually, I have a funny feeling that the girl might end up it's like, the boy is the oldest, so it'd be cool if imagine if he grew up to be a better artist than me, and here I am he's 20 something and he's just naturally talented and gifted, and I'm 40 and he's drawing my comics for me. I'm not going to push him into it, but if he has an interest in it, and if some people look at Alex Ross when he was a kid, I've said before, his placements of light and shadows when he was 12 is better than mine at 40. which is more of an indication of his skill than a lack of mine. I think it's a big part of it's just a natural talent, you know. But I think it'd be even funnier if it was the girl who ended up being really interested in all this sort of stuff and ended up working with me. It'd be a bit of a, not a role reversal, but you wouldn't have expected it. You'd expect the firstborn, the boy, to be into it. I think it goes deeper than that, than the communism, Jason. I think it's actually spiritual warfare. Because, I mean, you're definitely right that, because, you know, with communists, it's about clout. It's about having the power. When you control the media, you control the power. When you have the power, then you decide who goes to the gulag. But, I mean, these people that are starving in their cat food apartments in New York, to quote another YouTuber who gets a lot more views than me, are they so communist that they go hungry? Are they so communist that, you know, profit doesn't matter to them? And I think a lot of people feel that, like, once they're done ruining it, can die quietly. We're just waiting for them to leave, so we can salvage what we can. But if you go to rebuild, they just come back, don't they? So what do? You make your own, and then they attack you, but they can't stop you. I feel like this is pretty enough. This is only my fourth one. I've been going for 2 hours. Certainly is my best time. You know, I don't want to say, oh, that'll do too often, because then if I don't care about these cards, why would anybody else? I got to at least put a bit of effort in and show them I appreciate them. I don't think I'll do it again, though. I don't think it's worth the opportunity cost. I can be writing about that lady hitman in the whole time that I'm doing this. This sort of thing, though, with the really thanks, man. I do feel like, Corey, I do feel like I'm awakening some old skills. I haven't done a lot of this sort of stuff in a while, so bloody phone, fair income. Thanks, sweetie. Clint Eastwood doesn't have long hair. No, I don't think I've ever seen him with long hair. Might have to call this one done soon, though. I think it's got enough detail on it. I think I've put enough time into it. I like this sort of stippling. Is it like Mobius and guys like that who did like really intense stippling, and the stippling follows the curve. I'm not quite there yet. I'm not at the point where my stippling's weighted at one end and following the weight and the dimensionality of the objects that he's drawing, but that's the goal. I'd love to do a comic in this style, really painterly, come back through with some highlights. Start the whole page with a whitewash, not a whitewash, with a very, very pale grey wash, and then build up all the darks, then come back through with some white ink or something, and even a white ink pen, and do really crisp highlights on the whole thing. That's something I'd like to do. I want to do some. I've got this story I've written. So many of my sentences start like that. What's the matter, boy?
I can't put the lava on top of my other roof.
You can't put the lava on top of your roof. Why are you telling me? Oh, this is the worst stream ever. It is. So it's a story about, it's very 2000 AD. That's the vibe I wanted, and I'm so happy with the dialogue and the language and the way the narration boxes work. It's like a love letter to that sort of storytelling. That sort of there's an over the topness to 2000 AD stuff. Like, it's very understated in a lot of ways, and it's very grounded and real. I mean, Rogue Warrior is very much got elements of, Nam type stuff, where it's like, the grunts on the ground, that sort of thing. If you want to look into it, it's there. Or you can just enjoy the story. But as grounded as it is, and it's just this one grunt, this one guy, the concepts and the northers and the souths and all that sort of stuff, and the technology and the cybernetics, and that's all big over the top stuff. It's really cool. So I like that mix. There's something very real about these English comics, because the English in a lot of ways tend to be sort of understated, a little bit more subtle. They don't, I feel, they're not out there swinging their dicks around going, look at us. They're just like, pip pip, cup of tea. I'm a bit of an Anglophile. I appreciate my English heritage. One side of my family is all English, the other side's German. So I like the 2000 AD style, so I want to do something like that. And Napalm Brothers is absolutely fantastic. It made my top 10 books of 2020, and book 3 is going to make 2021, because I have no doubt that their 6 scale is going to bring the goods again. I wanted to do his sash red as the spot color. And so it's the story of this war that's been going on. So Earth's been destroyed or lost, doesn't matter, and mankind's been spread out across the stars. But the technology is almost diesel punk in some aspects. And so you got humans, people descended from humans. So this is a planet called Talos, and all the people on there are Talosians. But genetically they're human, but they've never seen Earth. They might not even know about Earth. It's like mankind's been spread so far that, I like the red sash brings that whole thing together. So they're human for all intents and purposes, but that doesn't matter. But I'm telling you anyway. Anyway, so they these Talosians finally rediscovered space travel, and they go off and first place they go is to their moon, like we did. And they get to their moon and they come across these alien bug creatures, and they kick the shit out of them. They just beat them like it's their job, beat them like a red-headed stepchild, beat them like they're getting paid for it. Thanks. Backing. See, self-talk, people. You can never have too much You can't have too much self-talk. You sound crazy if you do it too much. And number... Got to go back to Bane at some point. So we'll call this 25. Bane's 24. I'm pretty happy with that. There's stuff happening here that I really like. The darker color and then the lighter and the stippling. If I was more consistent and aware of my light sources, I think something like this could be really viable. This sort of stippled, like all this whole side here. I love all this here. This is great. This side's a bit more of a mess. I wasn't consistent with the big blocky light blocks of shadow, but I really like a lot of that other stuff. All right, go sit down. I'll fix it. Oh, so they beat the hell out of these bug people. can't believe there's 9 of you. And the numbers drop and then they go back up again. And the bug people, they send out a distress signal, or some of them escape or whatever, and mankind's like, haha, humanity, F yeah, we took out these alien scum. And then they don't realize on the aliens on the moon there, that was just a forward base. And they're part of this huge, mega intergalactic empire that spans countless worlds. And they're probably just watching Earth. Doesn't really matter for the sake of the story. And so then they come back and like, well, you started some shit. Like, we were just there chilling on your moon, and you attacked us. So now and they just take over they just completely smash the Telosians. And the only thing that keeps the Telosians from losing completely is they got these absolutely jacked up, like full-on life-filled cable-esque cyborgs with cables sticking out of their head and cybernetic arms and gritted teeth, like this. Because remember, they're all human. They've got these cyborgs they've jacked up, and they're superhuman strong, tear a car in half, and they're limited. They've only got so many of them, but they're this strike squad that goes around and basically single-handedly holding back these bug aliens. And then it gets told, okay, there's going to be a ceasefire. We're giving up, but we need to do this one last mission. And when they go to do this mission, they get ambushed and basically all killed off, except for the leader. They get hit with a big EMP blast, and he gets trapped in a big earthquake deep under the ground, and thousands of kilos of earth land on him, and his systems, his computers, because he's a cyborg, it all shuts down. And the idea was that the bug creature said, we'll give you the ceasefire, but part of it, and you can just become our vassals, but part of it is you get rid of these cyborgs because they're too dangerous, they're too powerful, and they've been kicking our asses. We want them dead. So the humans had to kill off their best weapon. All right, bring it here and I'll turn it on.
Yeah, I can have it.
Okay, that's fine. Oh, it's 100% charged. That's great. That'll keep you busy. Yeah.
Watching the ba.
Yeah. Mm. There you go.
Thanks, Dad.
You're welcome, beautiful girl. Does anybody, you guys are all comic fans. Is there anybody in the chat who doesn't know what EMP is? Whitewash, it sounds racist. And so, he gets betrayed by his own people. Someone at the front door. Unbelievable. Well, that's my father-in-law, so I guess I better go because he's decided to just drop by for a visit. I might try and jump back in a minute, but this has been an absolute disaster. Sorry to end it so suddenly, fellas. I really want to finish explaining the story. And give me a half hour, an hour, and I might start it back up again. But yeah, that's right. Yeah, alcohol poisoning by the end of it. But he's my father-in-law. I can't just be rude and sit in here and ignore him. So I'll catch you guys later. Thanks for stopping by. Sorry about this, and hope to catch you later today. See ya.